Evening and welcome to the Basalt Town Council's, what day is today, the October 28th meeting. We're going to get started here in a moment, but first call the meeting to order, and Pam, will you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Let us begin with Angela Anderson.
Here.
Rick Stevens.
Here.
Anna Berman.
Here.
Angel Dupré-Bouchard.
Here.
Ryan Slack.
Here.
David Knight.
Here.
Peter Schindler.
Here.
8 teams present. I know I've got a new phrase for that somewhere.
The aces are in their places.
All right, well, thank you very much. And we're going to do a little bit of an adjustment to the agenda. We're going to bring forward item 6A, which is the Girl Scout Troop 17080, Safe Routes to Schools. Presentation up now, just to get you to basketball, like I said a minute ago. Just wanted to talk a little bit about and kind of catch everybody up on what you guys did. So thank you for all that the collaboration that you did with Design Workshop, with the crosswalks and all that out there. So, Michelle, what year did we start doing this project?
2023.
So 2023, we put together those elevated pedestrian and bicycle safety areas, little poles and all of that. And there are the temporary improvements now, but there's a broader vision. You guys will see that as we go build this out in the years that come. And just give a little background. So Design Workshop donated the design recommendations and worked with the Girl Scout troop here to get their input and what the place should look like from a future standpoint and what it looks like now. So you guys had a big part in what that is, and it kind of creates place with the rainbow crosswalks, which is cool, and it also makes it safer. So it's fun and it's safe. And you guys all worked on that, and I appreciate that. I think everybody here on council appreciates that as well. So it's pretty cool that for now on, when you go through that intersection, no matter how old you are, you'll be like, well, hey, I helped make that the way it is versus the way it was, and it's pretty awesome. But I can't wait to see some of the future design, what do you call it, attributes, structures, things come into place there. So that's really the exciting part. I just want to say the town of Basalt recognizes Girl Scout Troop 17080 for contributing to design ideas that encourage public use, emphasize unique qualities of the area, and increase safety in the Confluence Park Safe Routes to School project. So nice work. I'll give you guys a round of applause. And you have new patches. So we can, if somebody wants to grab these and pass them out.
Do you want to hand them out to me?
Yeah. Or if you want to come up, we can hand them out either way.
Come up and get them.
You decide who's special and who's not special.
You could do that, I guess. Let's give them a special. So where are you allowed to put those on your uniform? I know when my son's in Boy Scouts or Scouting BSA, and they can put it on their jacket, or I think they can put it on the back of the sash. But where do you guys put patches like that? Out of curiosity. Back of the sash. Do you trade patches? Is that a thing? I know when I was a kid, I have a whole box of patches, and all the kids trade patches and try to earn them from each other. It's really fun. So if you want some more patches sometimes, if you get into trading, come see us. We have it's a pretty unique patch. So anyway, thank you again for coming out. Of course, you're welcome to stay and watch our very exciting meeting that we have in store. But you could also go to basketball. So whatever you'd prefer. But thank you so much. Let's give them another round of applause.
Thanks, girls.
All right, that's fun. And Pam, I have a question on the next agenda item, which is, it says to be on the November 11th agenda.
Yeah, the minutes, yeah. I
Alrighty.
didn't have them done.
That's okay.
so.
So no consent agenda for tonight, I can skip over that. So next up, we will do our call to the public. Please limit comments to 3 minutes and address your comments directly to me. Identify yourself by name and address. There's a sign-in sheet in the back of the room as well. And we always ask that comments are courteous, civil, and constructive. And we'll make no decision nor take action except perhaps to direct Doug, our interim town manager. So with that, I'll open up the floor up here for anyone who'd like to come make comments. Or anybody online too. I know we have some people there as well. Come on up, Chris. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Chris Lane.
No sitting, you have to stand, Chris. Get comfortable.
Hey, Ryan.
You got 2 minutes, dude. You don't get moved in. I haven't started the clock
Thank you.
yet.
So I'm Chris Lane. I'm a 30-year Basalt resident. I live in Southside, 367 Allison Lane. I served on city council with Rick many in the 95 to 2000. I was a child. You were a bit younger. So thank you for the work you guys do. I really appreciate it, and I know how hard it is. So my understanding is that this council is considering an electrification to your code, and I wanted to share my experience with electrification. I've got 35 years of sustainability, corporate sustainability, and I work right now with Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, and we do a lot of building-related construction, and we've done a lot of electrification. I'd love to share my experience, and I'll make it in about a minute. We've, 3 of our sites, we've fully electrified our kitchens. We've got electrical commercial kitchens. We've done our heating systems. We've done every appliance. We've done that for environmental purposes. But we're on Southside, where I live, we tease people who don't have solar in their house to create this culture in our community. We're right next to Basalt Vista, which is I was there with the governor who came and visited as a model for what our community could and should do from an environmental and a home standpoint. But with my environmental background, I don't want to talk about the environmental benefits. I want to share with you my experience of the feasibility and the cost. And one other thing that I'll save to the end. On the cost side, I don't use, what's that liquid people put in the back of their cars in the 21st century to make them go? Gasoline. So I haven't used gasoline in 15, 20 years. My house, other than my own house, I haven't done the heat yet, because it is a big retrofit in the heat, but I've electrified my house other than the heat, and I haven't done it for climate, I haven't done it for any other reason other than to save money. So Brian, who's back there, has not given me an electric bill, in over a decade, and I want to present to you guys that I think the electrification is a big cost saver. But the other thing that I think is the biggest thing, maybe the more important than cost savings, is safety. So as you guys all know, on an induction stove, you almost can't start a fire. The number one cause of home fires is cooking, and the number one way to start a fire with cooking is through an open flame. So when you electrify a home, your induction stove doesn't have a flame. It only provides heat when you put your metal down on it. Indoor air quality is an improvement as well, so you don't have an open flame inside there. I look at my vent that used to be in my kitchen that had the little grease thing on it and from smoke from an open flame we had inside our house. So I know there's probably concerns about what it takes to do that for a small town like this, maybe cost concerns, maybe some friction that it takes to go through something like this. But I would say that anything that has ever been done great takes some courage, takes some friction. And I'm here to tell you, I think it saves money, not only that, but your climate as well. So thank you for your time. I used it all up. Ryan, that's my, you have my 15 seconds. Thank you, guys.
I didn't start it till you introduced yourself, Chris, so you're
That
fine.
was my 3, okay. Thank
You got a full 3.
Who wants to go next? Ryan.
I'll stand. State your name. I'll be quick. Hello, everybody. Hi, Angela. I didn't get to say hi to you.
You gotta state your name for.
Oh, yes. I'm out of practice. Ryan Mahoney, and I'm here in my official capacity with Pitkin County today. And just wanted to share with you that we're underway with the airport design at this time, and we have a Down Valley meeting that I thought might be of interest to some of you, and then for some of those watching, it's going to be this Thursday at the Hoffman from 5 to 7, and it's in the Sopris room. There will be snacks, so you can come right after work and get something to eat. But right now we're just very much in the conceptual design phase, so just kind of trying to figure out the programming, the different elements that you need in an airport, like where does the terminal go, where does the parking go, Where are we going to put the multimodal transportation? Where are we going to put the rental cars? So we definitely want input from folks all over the valley. So I think it's important that we try to drum up as much interest to get there on Thursday if we can. So that's it. And there will be more, of course, both up valley and down valley. But at this stage, since we're just very much at the beginning, it's a good time to get involved. So thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. We'll do, we're going hybrid here, so we're gonna take one of our people on Zoom, Hannah Sagwell.
Yeah, Hannah, if you'd like to speak, just unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name's Hannah Sago. I live in Glenwood Springs, and I'm also commenting in support of Basalt implementing an all-electric building code for new development. I want to thank Town Council and staff for already having adopted a regional net zero roadmap, recognizing the climate crisis and the urgency that it demands. And it just seems to me that establishing an all-electric building code for new residential development is the next logical step to implementing your existing roadmap. I'm commenting in a personal capacity, but I work as a senior climate finance campaigner at an environmental nonprofit called Stand.Earth. My work is to urge large banks, insurance companies, pension funds, all manner of financial institutions to move money away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy as part of a just transition. And as I'm sure you can guess, this work has gotten a lot harder in the past year or so since the Trump administration took over. And a lot of the work of climate activists across the country has similarly gotten harder. And I just want to, urge you all to remember that you as a municipality still have a lot of power to advance climate action, even if there is a lack of will to advance climate action at the federal level or other places in the US right now. So there's a lot of reasons for climate activists to feel despair, but I feel like the Basalt Council has a lot of reason to give people hope, and just taking this simple step of implementing an all-electric building code for new residential development seems like the way to get this roadmap out of paper and across the finish line. So again, thank you for your work already to advance that just and responsible energy transition, and I hope you'll keep on that path set in the roadmap and establish that building code. Thanks.
Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate your comments. Someone from the room.
Right. Hello, everyone. Amanda Poindexter. Most of you know me. I helped I had some input on the Basalt Building Code a few years ago, and address. I'm actually in Glenwood Springs, 18 Crescent Place, and I own Full Circle Construction Services, so my focus is basically making buildings more efficient, more comfortable, and just better overall. I built my home a couple years ago specifically to be a model for others to build all electric, and the fact that you can do it on a budget and it's totally feasible. It functions so well. I really focused on more of the passive house building principles. I built very airtight, lots of insulation, good ventilation. So my heating and cooling loads were already pretty low to begin with. And then, we did the mini splits, heat pump, water heater. Our plumber thought we were crazy that we weren't gonna put a gas line in, and he now he's only worked on all electric homes after our house, which is pretty neat. And yeah, it like Chris says, your indoor air quality is amazing. You don't have to worry about carbon monoxide, any backdrafting of atmospheric, equipment. And it is totally reliable as far as your utilities go. Our bill is minimal. And even the overall construction costs were, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into our house, but we were well under, around 250 square foot, which is, I think most costs around here are 400 to 800. So it's definitely feasible. It's been, yeah, and it's also resilient. We were able to get the batteries, so we have an ability to produce power when there is no lights. And again, like I said, because the envelope and our orientation, even if we didn't have power, it'd probably be fine for a while. So yeah, I hope that you guys absolutely consider it and just really continue to be a leader as far as that goes. So, thanks.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good afternoon. I guess it's evening now. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. I'm Brian Hannigan, 712 Main Street in Carbondale, but more importantly, CEO and General Manager of Holy Cross Energy, your local electric cooperative. We have heard repeatedly over the last several months as the topic of electrification has come up, concerns raised about the electric capacity of our distribution grid and our ability to access resources to keep the lights on. This is the first of many visits that we'll be making throughout our service territory. I want to just state for the record, for both now and in the future, we absolutely have the capacity to serve, period, full stop. Before I came tonight, I checked the electric demand on the Basalt circuit that serves this area. It has a capacity of 17 megawatts of electric service. We were running at a little less than 8 at about 445, which is typically our peak. During the winter, that ticks up, obviously, with weather to something like 12 or 13, but even today, with our existing infrastructure, we've got more than sufficient margin to handle, a 50% growth in the electric demand of this area. Moreover, it's connected to a transformer that has a 28 megawatt limit at our Basalt distribution substation, with space around it for another transformer of similar size. So 28 plus 28 equals 56. That's included in our 10-year construction work plan that will happen as the demand for electricity grows. It's important to recognize that those figures are the net demand of electricity. It's what you're pulling off the grid. If you're like Chris and you have solar generation alongside your demand for electricity, that lessens the impact of the grid, or on the grid, not strengthens it. So when you do smart development and you do electrification with on-site generation, that actually eases the strain on the grid as opposed to exacerbating it. Same with flexible loads. If you can shift your demand for electricity, you can stagger it throughout the day rather than stack it all at once. That reduces that peak, enables that capacity to be used more broadly. So there are a lot of ways to mitigate demand on the grid that would strain it even if that were the case, which we don't believe that it will be. My last point is that where we need more energy, we go and work with our partners at Xcel Energy that run a 7,000 megawatt capacity system, and they're building capacity to serve their loads on the Front Range. Our system peak in the winter of 300 megawatts is a tiny drop in that bucket, and so we don't have concerns about getting the power supply either. So we definitely have the capacity to serve both now and in the future with electrification. And I'll be glad to come back at some point and go into more detail if you'd like that. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Brian. Anyone else? Anyone else in the room? Anyone else online? Okay. Appreciate the comments, and let's do mayor and council comments next. So we'll start with you guys.
I mean, hearing from folks in the room and having recently read the 2023 roadmap, I think it makes sense. I think in 2023, council had set in motion the intention to adopt an all-electric building code in 2025, and it's getting close to the end of 2025. So I think for new residential, it makes a lot of sense. I certainly feel urgency to act on climate. It's one of the main reasons I ran for council in the first place. we see increased wildfires like the Lake Christine fire that burned 3 homes, including the home of a firefighter fighting the fire at the time. And I think this is our chance to kind of do our part. Buildings are 2/3 of carbon emissions in the Roaring Fork Valley. And I think as we heard today from Chris, from Amanda, from other folks, it's very possible to build them all electric. It's affordable to build them all electric. So I feel some sense of urgency to get this across the finish line. I think our team has done a lot of legwork to do the roadmap, to update our building codes, and this is the final step to get across the finish line. So I think maybe as part of that, what council might consider is directing staff to come back with the updated code language for all electric for new residential, not remodels, not commercial yet, just new residential.
Thanks, Anna. Anybody else want to take that up as well? I know I do. I'll save my comments, though.
I do.
Yeah, I think bring it forward.
I think just a quick comment. At this point, like's been pointed out in Auden's letter and some of the comments here, this is happening in both large scale and smaller residential. So I know if you recall the roadmap from 2022, it was a type 1 construction, I believe, keep me honest here, type 1 construction, no gas line for new construction. Just to be clear, I know existing construction is not what we're talking about here. I just want to make sure everybody understands that we're talking about new construction, new type 1 residential construction. I think we're at the point where we should be doing it. I think we have a responsibility, not just because we made this commitment back several years ago on a different council, but also because every municipality, everybody who has the levers for whatever scope that they manage from a policy perspective needs to do their part with this. Like, the only way we are going to improve, the climate situation is lowering emissions, and the built environment is what we have control over, especially the new one. So it's kind of the low-hanging fruit. I mean, I want to figure out how we can do other things to optimize the code. I want to figure out how we can tackle the built environment, the existing residential situation. But at this point, I mean, that roadmap makes a lot of sense. Like, we don't have to put gas lines in the residential buildings anymore. There's ways that you can accomplish, the heating, the cooking, all the service loads. I think it's the vernacular for that. But there's ways that you can do that with electrification. I just think it's a responsibility if we're stewards of this place to do that. So I'm absolutely behind this, and I thank Hannah for kind of championing this and kind of getting, making sure this is front and center and keeping it top of mind. And I'd ask staff to, come up with an ordinance to do this. In the future, we will look at, as planned, code amendments to do, efficiency and ICC and et cetera, but I think at this point, we need to go ahead and do something to basically make new type 1 construction, no gas.
So I guess I'm a little confused on a process standpoint to start, because this is not on the agenda. We usually don't directly address public comment unless I'm misunderstanding. And
I directed staff based on the comments and based on our
well,
wishes.
right, but I guess without it being on the agenda, we've only heard from a very specific group of the public that has been targeted to come and speak at public comment on this in favor of it. And only one of them live in Basalt. And so I think that it's our responsibility, if we're going to direct staff to spend their money, the taxpayers of Basalt's money, no offense to Glenwood Springs, on any initiative, we should have the opportunity for more of our community to speak on this, because there is also a large part of the community that has varying opinions on this. We've heard a biased, one-sided take on this so far, And I think we owe it to the rest of the community members to have the opportunity to speak on this before we spend money on consultants or anything else. We do not have a lot of money to burn. I am not saying I'm not for the environment, okay? This is how I'm gonna be painted, and I'm okay with that. That's not what I'm saying. I just think that we haven't, because it hasn't been on agenda, it's been, you know, talked about loosely, and all of a sudden it's like accelerating really quickly. And to be perfectly fair, the expediency is not necessary. With the number of new builds that we have, electrifying them is only going to change the actual ongoing emissions. It doesn't change the building process, how the materials get here, what the materials are made of. That's where most of those emissions are coming from. We're not changing that. The fact that if we electrify new builds, it is not going to move the needle on global carbon emissions. And because of that, we are making a significant statement, you know, that's going to encourage other communities. But we're not moving the needle. If the end result is climate change, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but we're not in a hurry. We pass this tomorrow. It's not going to move the needle on global emissions. It's not going to move the needle on Colorado emissions. Colorado, maybe not Holy Cross, but Colorado burns a hell of a lot of coal. And so I think we slow down, we take the time to actually get real feedback from our entire community, and we approach it more carefully.
I guess I just don't understand how we get that feedback if we don't direct the staff to reach out. I've seen one person show up and ask for a turkey crossing sign, or we've seen the people show up and ask about their lights, and then we direct staff to gather information. I don't really see it as much different.
Well,
Nobody's
they're
making a
Please,
vote.
please,
Draft
please, hey,
policy.
excuse me. Angela has the floor.
That's all. I just have seen us direct staff for more information on things, big and small, and I don't see this as any different. It seems like it's just it's fact finding, just like the turkey sign, just like the lights, just like so many other things I've seen in the last 4 years. We're just asking for more information, and I think that will bring about other people coming out and saying their other side and being able to give their perspective on why they might not be in support of that. Because if we can just direct town staff to make it a priority, then the community, I think, will make it a priority as well.
I am on board with
Before we do rebuttals and things like that, this is public comments. I want to give Ryan a chance to make his comment.
No, it's fine. Is there any more public comment? Because this
No,
is
there's
gonna-
not. We're not in that portion of the agenda.
Well, do we shut down public comment?
Greg Shaffron's here for something else. I did.
Okay, I just want to make sure before we get into this
Yeah,
council discussion.
I got the meeting. So
Yeah, well, I know.
If you have comments.
I do have comments. I have many comments on this. Number one, 2023, the last roadmap we passed did have an exemption for gas on certain things. I agree. I appreciate where we're going on this. I would like to remind everyone that our building code is already requiring electrification ready. If I could go to Michelle on that, I'm sure she'll back me. We're basically requiring almost everything for electrification, for adding solar panels, for adding things in retrofits. The amount, I don't know why this, for the record, I'm a part of Holy Cross's battery program. I have solar panels on my house. I believe in electrification, but I believe in the fact of demanding electrification at a cost. Amanda was able to do it very well. She's in the industry. She knows all the ways and means of how to get it done. That's awesome. She could probably help some other people do it. Please, everyone on council, if you have a plumber, if you have an electrician, call them. Ask them about this. Find out from the people that are installing these systems on what they take to manage, on what their backup is, on what the parts cost, on what... This is not just a simple choice of saying, hey, you're going to have electric and that's going to be all you get. I just feel like we're just getting in our own way for just to say, hey, we're all electric. I get it. That's a great virtue. That's a great thing to symbolize to all other mountain towns. But let's be honest. We live in the mountains. People like fireplaces. So now are we allowing to bring back wood fireplaces? Or are we banning all gas fireplaces? Because that's what we're doing. If we go all electric, then no one can have a fireplace in their home. They can have an electric fireplace, and I'm sure everyone loves a good electric fireplace. People love to cook. Some people swear by induction. Other people swear by gas. I'm just saying, we are forcing a choice on people that is, like Angel said, we're moving the needle. I understand you gotta move the needle, but this is so minute on the scope of everything we can do. And I just, our building code is already, I'm pretty sure, the furthest in the valley. Is that correct, Michelle? Have we adopted?
We're far out.
Yeah. So like, I just feel like this next step, and granted, once again, new build residential, very minimal. It's only gonna affect a handful of lots, probably a handful of rebuilds, which is what's gonna be coming down the pipeline for us, which I appreciate, but I just think there's other ways to execute this than going all electric. I think there's carrots and sticks, and I think this is just a stick, and I think it's gonna open us up to other things that, I think there are many unintended consequences that are not seen by just saying, hey, we're going all electric. And I'm happy to have the discussion down the line, because I know we will. So, that's done. I do want to make a great manager council comment. Justin and his team, there was a issue on above Frying Pan Road. It happened 2 weeks ago. Justin and his team have already gone through it, contacted Stutzman, fixed it. It's amazing. I can't thank our staff enough for executing on problems that present themselves, and so I think that looks like an awesome drainage system, and I'm really impressed with how fast you guys came in. You know, I saw you on the road, I talked to you, I saw the Stutzman guy a week later, he's like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and I was like, amazing. So, kudos to you guys, because that could have been a way bigger issue and problem for everyone in the town, everyone up the pan, and you guys are great, so I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just follow up on the
Yeah.
electrification discussion. Maybe it's a suggestion to council. I will say, council comment is an appropriate way to bring something up to try to get on a future agenda. And so I think that's kind of what we're aiming towards here. And maybe it'd be helpful for council if we had either a set agenda item or through a work session to kind of go over, here is the current state of things from an electrification standpoint under the code. Here are options as to what an all electric type 1, has been suggested might look like. There aren't too many other communities that have done this, but we can look to them as a point of comparison. For example, in Crested Butte, it's not just as simple as, I don't think, as if you go down this path, it's all electric. There are certain exceptions, so it could be worth discussing that. I know the city of Denver is in a lawsuit right now related to its all electric code based on some preemption arguments as to federal law. And so it could just be worth a general discussion item for council to kind of go over this and then provide, if there's an interest in kind of accelerating or moving forward with the ordinance drafting before we get started drafting any kind of ordinance, to have kind of a more thorough discussion instead of just in the council comments. But this is the right way to then get this next discussion on the agenda.
Thanks, Jeff. No, I appreciate that. That's, Hannah has brought this up multiple times, and I explained that this is the way to do it. We want to, bring it up. Like, and if there's 4 people who want to go down this road, at least exploring this, that's what we're asking, is providing that direction. I appreciate people coming out also to make comments on behalf of this issue, because we want to get some of these facts out there, so we can do this, so we can have an kind of informed discussion to start, but there's a lot more discussion to go. And I know that you guys everybody has different perspectives on this and what it's gonna ultimately look like, but this, like you said, this is how it's supposed to go. And I didn't want this to be something, it just shows up all of a sudden an ordinance later or something we need to have this discussion out in the open. It's important. So I do want to I didn't forget about you, Angel. I do want to give you guys a chance to make comments if you have any, though, first.
Well, I was only gonna say is that I think it should be brought forward because you can't include the public in this conversation without doing that. It's right now it's the idea, but the public, that is the public's opportunity to come and make full-throated comments on either way. So, if we really want to hear what they have to say, we should bring it forward.
Yeah, and my point of view on the call to the public is that it isn't a time to present a single-purpose agenda. That should be vetted at a work session, and then the experts can come and participate in the conversation with us in an informal way, and then we can direct staff out of that process to do something formal. I have a lot of questions about concurrency and about the expansion of the core resort and, the idea of managing peak demand. I was doing that with high-rise buildings a long, long time ago, managing that demand in the morning when people turn their lights on. So it's, there's a number of techniques to get there. I think that we're turning the upper end of the valley is turning into like a 24-hour snow globe. So I don't know how that's going to be managed over the course of this next phase of expansion up there, and how much is left in the grid when that's brought into play. The mayor of Aspen had a comment in the paper about trying to limit people's use on, like you would on a watering schedule or something, and Ann and I talked about that today. So there are some other, as Ryan mentioned, some implications, but I think the process, I agree with Angel that, we have this on a work session. I have a couple things I'd like to get in on a work session, and now I understand how you can do that. And that means bringing in supporters for your topic and getting it into a public mayor council reports and turning it into direction to staff later in the meeting, I guess, is when this would happen, right?
What's happening right now?
Well, it says, no decision nor take action except to direct the town manager
That's we're directing the town manager right
by formal motion and vote.
now. No, I think it's just,
I think, so you're looking at
Straw vote.
public
thumbs up,
comment?
thumbs down.
So, if you, Rick,
Look at
as
it,
a
no, I'm referring to mayor and council as well.
so as a council
That the
person,
scope?
as a council person, if you're interested in having a particular issue placed on a future agenda for discussion by council during this is your council's, the council's meeting. This is your opportunity to bring something up to see if the public, but if you as counselors would want to place it on there, if a majority of council's interested in bringing that back for further information or discussion amongst council. Staff have their own work plans we're working through with things that are scheduled to be brought back, but if this is, something that, if it's something that's, council's wanting more information on, this is the way to do it.
Well, and out of respect for Gloria coming in a few weeks, I think that we should probably look at that list of things that we want to discuss and put it into the plan for 2026, as we move forward here. I don't like to be surprised. I thought this conversation was on the agenda, and my bad for not digging in a little deeper. But, so that's where I'm at. I don't have a problem with trying to eliminate our negativity and address climate change, but I find it to be a little bit, I'd like to talk to the builders. I'd like to see what they have to say. We're looking at conversions up valley that require 600 and 800 amp services and things like that on these 15,000 square foot houses, and I know we don't have that threat, but the grid is threatened by that. And I'd like to see how that plays out. And that's why we have a grant application in for a regional conversation. Because, standing alone is great, but what if we, we get overwhelmed by codes that don't require that and we're stuck in the vacuum? I don't know. It's complicated. Did I speak loud enough?
So if it's a topic council wants more information and discussion on, not to make, decisions here tonight, but a topic to have this conversation in a more organized and thorough way, that's something that council can direct staff to bring back.
Yeah, after hearing from, the people here tonight in public comment and knowing that your passion for this, but also knowing your insight and passion for an opposing viewpoint, and Angel, I'm really just interested in hearing more information, because it feels like some people sitting up here have a lot of knowledge on the one side of the issue, and other people on the other side. And so for me, it just makes me more curious, and I would just really like to hear and have a more well-rounded understanding of code and of this issue in particular. It's not that I've made up my mind, it's just that I would like to know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I mean, that was, I guess, the point I was trying to make, is that there was a request to actually draft code, and I was vehemently opposed to that. This should be further discussed in a more public and organized setting via a work session where there's plenty of time for everybody to delve into the issue, for the public to be aware, unless they weren't directly reached out to, so that they can come and, speak on the matter so that it's on their radars. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's unanimous that we are directing staff to put a work session on this on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be clear, my intention is to do that as part of the process, but I would like to get to the outcome of not having gas to residential new type 1 construction. That's, I mean, and we can agree to disagree on that, but I mean, just full transparency, that's what I want to get to as far as an outcome. Obviously, you're not going to just draft code, in a week or two and come back in another meeting, but that work session and kind of here are the options, here's kind of how that can play out. There is a sense of urgency on this. If everybody had a sense of urgency like we are trying to do here, be a lot better off. I mean, all we can do is what we can do, and that's, in this world where you're, not to get too preachy, but in this world where there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of people who are frustrated. But you know what? Do what you can do. Go out and change what you can change. You have your voice, you have your avenues to do that, and this is what this council wants to do, to some degree or another, and we'll see where that journey takes us. So that's all I have to say on that. You guys have direction?
I think we heard you.
Got it.
Thanks. That was fun. It was fun. I'll just leave it at that.
Let's get those Girl Scouts back in here.
Well, yeah, I mean, are we done with I have one thing.
Yeah, if you have more council comments,
Yeah,
absolutely. Go
maybe
for it.
we end on a happier note. The Confluence Park thing was the first open space purchased by Basalt, $235,000. It was a 1-acre developable piece of property in Eagle County that we decided to buy because we were bringing the rivers back into the community. The evolution since then has been remarkable to see the pedestrian bridge, the 7-Eleven, and the bridge get built over here on Midland. And then to have participation from the community reminds me of the participation we had in the community with the River Master Plan and all the things that were connected to that simple purchase. And I wanted to mention to the Girl Scouts that the term confluence became popular then because it reflects the energy of the two rivers coming together, which is, I think I've said this before, 7 times the energy of a single source. So what they've done is brought a confluence to the Safe Path to Schools. It started up about in Elk Run somewhere. And it's a finishing of a project that's been ongoing for a long time. It's had a lot of public input and a lot of participation. So looking forward to getting that done. And the one thing I love is getting stuck in the crosswalk at 3:15 while everybody's crossing the street, because not only do I get to see the police in action, but I get to see all the new young people that are, going to school here. So thumbs up, and let's get that done. Okay? Okay, thank you. And to Chris, it's been a while, Chris. Nice to see you again. Yeah.
Thanks, Rick, for bringing us on.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we've already been through item 6A, so now we're in our presentations. Item 6B is the third quarter 2025 financials. Doug?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I missed your interim
fine,
manager's report.
I'll do both. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine, you go right back. I just had three things I wanted to mention. One is that last week in Denver at the Colorado American Public Works Association's conference, having an awards banquet, where the Midland Streetscapes project was granted a sustainability award. And that award was also going to be featured in the Colorado Public Works Journal this fall. As of last Friday, I believe in Grand Junction, the American Planning Association's Colorado Conference also awarded this streetscape project a Resilience and Sustainability and Environmental Design Award. And there's more information about all of this in our weekly letter, and there's also a news press release going out today. That's on top of what was already an award by Downtown Colorado for the economic vitality aspects of the project. So I think from my seat, I entered this project midstream, but it's for the success of the town. And I think it was a job well done, and Michelle's team and everyone who actually worked on it. Catherine Christoph was taking the lead. She's not here tonight. Gave her a night off, so that the award. If you want to add anything, Michelle?
No.
For the team?
You'll see the press release out tomorrow, and it's been a pleasure to get us there.
So I had that, and then also we had an opportunity present itself through the West Mountain Regional Housing Authority for us to actually implement what was the Resi 23 Series 2025, which was the resolution pertaining to the developing a framework for Basalt's deed restriction program. So we have an opportunity now to actually implement that, working with James, and we'll have more on that likely in the next meeting with something that you guys will have more meat on the bones as far as what the aspect is, so just a heads up. And then just as a nit here, in your agenda item 8A, just for the record, it should be noted as October 28th, not October 14th. We had, Jenny was out last week, so there was the header of the form just wasn't updated. Not a big deal, but just for the record. Okay, now,
All right, so that was your interim manager's report.
it is, now we're gonna go into the, can you follow up that, James? Thank you. Move it over here, it'd be easier for me. To do the quarterly report. I'll try to make up some time. Pretty consistent with what we've been talking about all year. Okay, so just to remind everybody, I can make this smaller in your packet, so when I have the higher resolution version here. Just a graphical illustration of our elements of income and our expenses by department. And right now, this is through third quarter. Essentially, I don't know, something like 70% of our revenue is still taxes generated. This will skew more to sales tax as the year goes. There's still property taxes more front-loaded first half of the year, and sales taxes is trailing or more ratable throughout the year. And then on the expense side, you'll see the admin side's a little higher than normal. It's normally just police and public works that are over half the expenditures, but the admin section's a little higher this year because of the contribution that the town had made for the acquisition of the mobile home parks. That was a $600,000 item. So jumping into page 2, just a couple of highlights here, and just moving along, is that this is like really small.
Yeah, I'm making it bigger.
Yeah, okay. You'll see here our sales tax number. I've been forecasting a drop in what we had budgeted. We're just eking out a little bit of a gain year over year from where we were in 2024. We had budgeted a 4% increase, and we're not going to make that. I just don't believe we're going to make that. We still have 3 months to go, but I don't believe we're going to make that budget. So later on in the meeting, there'll be a budget amendment for 2025, and you'll see that I'm taking the sales tax number down slightly. That was the bad news. Good news is that our permit number for building permits is higher than what we anticipated. That, for me, is just a very hard number to predict. It's all based upon what people are going to be pulling in the way of permits. I don't really have great visibility into what builders are doing. maybe I could, yeah, Ryan?
Just before you dive too deep, are we about where we were percentage-wise for last third quarter, for like the 2024 third quarter?
Revenue-wise?
Yeah, just like, are we at about that same percentage? Because I know we were kind of still slow last year.
Right.
We
Well,
caught a
we're-
little pick up and forth, but.
Right, we're at 80%, so that's about where we were last year. We beat the number last year.
Okay, so there's a chance, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not looking great.
Well, I think we're gonna beat revenue, but I don't think we're gonna beat it on sales tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, no
I
worries.
just didn't want to get too far down the line.
Yeah,
before I was-
Yeah. No, I just don't see it. I'm not being too dour about it, I just don't see
No,
it.
you're honest about it, which I appreciate. I think
Uh-huh.
you give an honest perspective.
Right. So the other just items here of note that are kind of aberrant are year-over-year increases. You'll see here in miscellaneous, where is it at here? Hold on. Where we go? Miscellaneous service charges at 142 versus a budget of 16. You chalk that up to the alcohol sales we had for the summer concert series, and recall the transaction Michelle led with Valley View Hospital for the wrapping of the Basalt Connect buses. So it was a 2-year deal. There's advertisement for that. They paid for 2 years in advance, and they got 10% discount. So really, the exception of the revenue was tagged to those two aspects. So paging down, I'm just going to cover some items here. Interest, we're continuing to do well. We're experiencing some actual appreciation in some of our long-dated bonds with rates dropping. You recall we went like a 4-year ladder, and some of our longer-dated bonds are picking up some appreciation. We're up like probably about $125,000 on those bonds. So that's actually working out like we thought it might. So you'll see our revenue before financing is 10,000,003 versus the budget of 12. So Ryan, to your point, 81% of our revenue is in for the 9 months. So I mean, we're gonna beat revenue, but not our sales tax. And then looking at expenses, I think the only thing I mentioned, we'll go through expenses in more detail when I go through the budget amendment. But I think of them as 3 different domains. We got personnel, operating, and CapEx. Debt services is a 4th domain, but it's not, you're not gonna blow your budget on debt services, pretty much a fixed number. We are running about a $750,000 vacancy savings throughout all departments. Ryan dropping out, me coming in, Gloria coming in November, so some vacancy savings there. The police department's down number of people in their department, so we've got vacancy savings accruing as well. Justin, when he came in, we had the Public Works Director for the whole year. He only came in April. We also had Matt Wagner, who was the Assistant Public Works Director. We did not backfill that position. So there's quite a bit of vacancy savings. And we actually get to the budget amendment, you'll see that I'm combing out some of those savings, but I'm not combing them all out. So I'm holding them because we still have 3 months of activity here. Things happen, like Ryan mentioned, it rains all weekend and the hill's starting to fall. You got to get to it. So you got to have money to take care of things that come up. On the operating side of the house, there's nothing really running too hot that gives me any concern. And even on the CapEx, we're running under as well. So you'll see that right now we're at 8.4 million for the first 9 months compared to 13 million, so that's only 64% of the budget. What this doesn't show, don't forget that all of our COPs, certificates of participation, are due basically 12/1. So we got a lot of money going out the door in 4th quarter, and that's going to be making up. That's going to be hitting this P&L. So I think we're going to make up the deficiency. You'll see that we'll have a 990 was our budget deficiency for the year. Expenditures being in excess of revenue. The budget amendment that I'll be presenting later this evening will still show a deficiency of about 111,000 when we're done. But I do believe, and I'm hopeful, that what we'll see when we're doing this, come say January, that we more than made up the difference of that 990,000 and actually end the year in the black. That's what I'm thinking we're going to end up right now. So all in all, that's where we're at. You just page over just a little bit, James, on that proof of cash. You'll see that I mean, you can page up a little bit as well, please. I just do this because I always say cash is the only number that doesn't lie to you. So for the year, we've generated $1.5 million in cash, and this is just my proof that the change in fund balances, along with our working capital adjustments, is my proof. So this year, this time last year, we were only up about $250,000. So we generated more cash for the first 9 months in 2025 than we did in 2024. And that's probably tagged a lot to the fact that we had the drag on Midland. I mean, Midland, we had a pretty good clip going there with paying Stutzman for their work. So those are the headlines there for the general fund. Any questions on that before I go to the next slide? Hearing none. All right, so we got the restricted funds. This again, just graphically illustrating the elements of income. Really, the blue is taxes and the green are the RETAs, and all the other 27 funds are making up these smaller percentages of other income. So going to the next slide here, you'll see that like building permits, for me, predicting what these RETAs are going to be is a real challenge because I don't have visibility on when people are going to be selling their homes, what they're going to be selling them for. You'll see a RETA 1 in Willits, we only budgeted a very modest amount, and we're doing exceptionally well on transactions there, along with Lake Modern. Those are big outliers as far as revenue goes. And park dedication fees of $532, that relates to the Midland across the street here, that we had thought was going to end in 2024, hit in 2025. Been talking about that being a timing difference. So we're well exceeding our revenue on the restricted fund. And likewise, with expenses, you'll hear there's no real payroll here in restricted. It's really OpEx and CapEx. Post, we've only really spent for the first three. It was $1.3 million is what we spent, a little bit more than we had year over year in 2024, but it's still way less than budget for 2025. So later in the year, I'll be amending the budget to reduce the budget for the post expenditures. So.
Can you double click on the tobacco tax revenues? It's good if it's behind because of lower consumption, but like what's going on there?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because you know what happened is when I was doing this, it was last Tuesday or Wednesday when I was doing this, I noticed the same thing. And it turned out we had a non-compliant taxpayer that had not been responding to notes from one of my colleagues. So I asked my colleague to send a note again, copy me, and voila, the tax returns got filed and check got remitted. So there was a timing difference there. That's been resolved.
Good sleuthing.
I'm sorry?
Good sleuthing.
Yeah. So and by the way, that same non-compliant taxpayer also was non-compliant or was behind on their state taxes.
Oh.
So I reminded them of that as well. So anyway, that's what happened there, David. So I think and there was about $100,000 rolling through here last week for that. So we caught up. I think we'll still make our number.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Yeah.
Well,
it's good for the numbers.
Good for the kids.
all right. So that's a good catch.
It's 3 full-time employees for the schools, guys. That's huge. It's something, we don't have this money in the town.
Well, it funds the
I
Aspen
say
Hope.
that as a joke, but it's a real thing that our kids are getting extra teachers because of these tobacco dollars. We got a brand new track. You're putting this money to good use. For anyone that does not think this tobacco money is going to good use, it is. Our kids are seeing it fundamentally with mental health and actual teachers. So as much as we want to stop people from smoking, let's just let them keep smoking.
Well, yeah, and the upshot is, I know the police department does a great job making sure that retailers are compliant, so if grown adults want to make that decision, they can,
Right.
It's important that the kids don't do that. And like Ryan said, that's some critical roles that we get from that revenue.
It also funds not only the schools, but Aspen Hope Center, the Pitkin Detox,
Yeah.
Mountain Family. I mean, there are good uses to that money. So anyway, so So thanks for mentioning that, tobacco. So let's go to the last page and see if I can make up a little time here. I don't know if I will or not. Bond fund, just a reminder, this is our debt service fund for our taxable and tax exempt bonds. It's secured by the mill levy. So the mill levy comes in, Pitkin Eagle. That money gets peeled away over here in the bond fund, and we service that debt and those payments. You said 600,000 and the rest of the interest payment. That's going out in December as well. Capital Construction Fund is the Midland Streetscape Project, the affordable housing projects over by Stotts Mill, and also the solar roofs that were installed principally in the school districts. I think, what do I want to say about this? Not a lot. I think I mentioned this before. I'm an outlier here as our general administrator. Just there was a provision, you know, on tax exempt bonds. A municipality isn't allowed to earn more. You're allowed to earn more than what you're paying, but you can't earn too much more than what you're paying. And those bonds were issued like at less than a percentage point. The interest rate was like 0.75. And we were earning, if you remember right, pretty good money on our tax exempt money. So the interest arbitrage provisions of the IRS said, well, you earn too much, so you got to give some of it back. So I could have waited, made the decision to not wait, because it would still, the liability would continue to accrue to the IRS. So we went ahead and paid it. It wasn't due until, I think, 2027. But by 2027, I'm not likely to be here, and no one, you know, Ryan wouldn't be here, no one would know what this was. It's like, so let's just go ahead and do it. Plus, the IRS is in total disarray. So go ahead and get it sent in, and, you know, they'll have 3 years to audit it, and they'll be done with it, and it'll just be done. So we don't have to be screwing around with it. So, and then the water fund is another enterprise fund here. I think the only thing I note here is that there was a bit of a timing difference here with the tap fees. Those tap fees related to the Midland over at BCC. That hit in 2025. I was thinking it was going to hit in 2024, at least that's what the plan had indicated. So we're running along here. Nothing's in trouble, in my view. The Water Fund, the Conservation Trust Fund, just rounding it out, concluding that's just the rake off of the lottery tickets. And buy a lottery ticket, a little piece goes to the Conservation Trust Fund that's used for environmental concerns throughout the state, municipalities throughout the state. So we're using that actually to fund the improvements over at the cemetery, and that project's finally underway. No, I say finally, because that implies something was done wrong, but we had a hard time finding somebody to do the work. And Justin's led that effort, and we've got somebody on it, and trying to get as much work done before the weather changes, and wrapping it up in the spring of 26. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Justin. That's a good project.
Right. Any questions?
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. There you go. All right. Next up, we have council actions. 7A is an interview and appointment, Basalt Emergency Committee. It's an interview and appointment of prospective BEMC member Jess Craig.
So I'd like to introduce Jess Craig to you. Mr. Craig came to the September Emergency Management Committee meeting and has expressed an interest in participating as a citizen member, and we just happen to be short a citizen member. So we would welcome his participation in this group. The process is that citizen members to the BEMC are appointed by the town manager, excuse me, and approved by the town council. So Mr. Craig is here this evening to express his interest and explain why he would like to participate. If council has any questions, or would you like to talk to them a little bit about your interest?
It's very nice being here, and it's interesting some of the items that you have on your agenda this evening so far. I have a background in emergency preparedness and an interest in it, so it's a combination of communication and electronic emergency preparedness, and I just want to stay abreast of what's going on in the town and contribute whatever I could.
That's great. Thank you for being willing to do it. It's always good to have people serving on these, especially when they have applicable experience. Does anyone have any questions? For
Just a comment, the Roaring Fork Valley Fire Collaborative that's being sponsored by the Aspen Institute is a probably 18-month-old organization that's focused on community preparedness from the point of view of fire mitigation. And we've been working with them now, or I have, since they started. And I think it's really an opportunity for Basalt to engage with them and have a more in-depth conversation about how that partnership works. On the basic single home, residential side, there's a lot of what I think the, comment was earlier, it's difficult to get through the approvals and so on. I've had some experience with that myself. And it becomes sort of a tangled web to try to maneuver through. And if that was something that you guys would be interested in looking at, I'd really appreciate it. They're really interested in bigger demo projects, which we've undertaken up on the hill this last summer. I don't know how far we've got with that, but going back to the neighborhood and the culture and the community, that's been our biggest challenge. So if we can send a message out there that that's available to people and get some more energy behind it, that'd be great. And if you have some experience with that, that'd be even better.
Specifically of wildfire mitigation projects?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain, there's an insurance component of that too, now where people are losing their homeowners because they're at risk. And it's a growing organization with expertise in contractors and all that stuff. So I just think it's something we need to pay close attention to.
I absolutely agree. It's the very, very basics of people/neighbors helping neighbors, because let's face it, in the event of something big, we may not have first responders available, as wonderful as they are. So if we as neighbors can help neighbors and prepare for and understand what we're preparing for and why, that's a big step. And as you said, Richard, fire mitigation and that kind of thing, if I'm correct, is important and should be one of the components in any kind of plan that's being put together.
Jess, I'm sorry I missed you at the September meeting. I wasn't able to be there, but I do sit on the council. And I think you're gonna be a great addition, and I look forward to seeing you at the November meeting. So, Mayor, I move the town council approve the appointment of Jess Craig to the BEMC for a 3-year term to end October 14th, 2028.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just
forward
have
to seeing
one
you.
comment.
I'll say hi to you when I walk in.
Yeah, but we plan to take a little vacation beforehand, so
It's okay. I'll let them know. I'll be at this meeting. You were at the last one. We'll cover all the ground.
you got it. I'll talk
I
with
got
you.
you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have item 7B. It's a public hearing and second reading ordinance number 13, series of 2025, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, granting an extension of vested rights for the site plan approval, Southside Floodplain Reach 2 ESA review approval, community housing review approval, and a license agreement for an automated car wash located at 115 Southside Drive, Lot 1 of the Basalt Business Center West Subdivision, Basalt, Colorado. James, you have this one?
Yeah, thank you. We've got the applicant here this evening, John Belkin. As the mayor indicated, this is a public hearing and a second reading of an ordinance on a request submitted by the Van Ruin Group for a 1-year extension of the vested rights for the car wash approvals at 115 Southside Drive. As was discussed at first reading, the automated car wash was approved in 2020 for the property that's on the corner of Southside Drive and West Cody Lane. And the applicant has received 2 extensions of vested rights in the past, and they're requesting an additional 1-year extension. As staff identified at first reading, some of the benefits of the project is that there would be additional right-of-way that would be purchased and additional parking provided by the applicant to organize the parking. Additionally, this additional right-of-way would be necessary for a future Southside Drive underpass, which is in the plans, in the master plan. The draft ordinance, as was identified at first reading, was approved by the council at first reading, and there haven't been any substantive changes. It requires the applicant to satisfy life safety codes in place at the time that a permit is issued. It also requires applicant to pay an updated cash in lieu fee. And so that being the case, staff would entertain any comments that the applicant has and recommend that council take public comments, provide council discussion, and if you're comfortable, you could approve the ordinance on second reading. John, do you have any additional comments for the council?
I don't. Saw folks a couple weeks ago. Appreciate bringing this for you every year. Yep, the hope is we'll start the project soon.
Fingers crossed.
What's that?
I said fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you have to bring your kids again if you come.
Yeah. Mom was
At
away
basketball.
last time, so.
Should make them present it.
Yeah, but I'll make it home in time to read, so.
All right, well, it is a public hearing, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If anybody would like to come up and make comments, you're more than welcome to do so. Anybody online, same thing. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt ordinance number 13, series of 2025 on second reading.
Second. I
Alright.
cede to Dieter.
all right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hopefully,
Thanks, guys. Thanks for all you do.
hopefully we see construction in the next.
I hope so too. More than just the ditch.
All right, thanks a lot. Next up, we have item 7C. It's a public hearing and second reading ordinance number 15, series of 2025. An ordinance of the town council of the town of Basalt, Colorado, approving a minor subdivision for a lot line adjustment and amendment to a pedestrian and bicycle access easement for lots 1 and 2 of Basalt Highland PUD subdivision, 202 and 204 Ridge Road, Basalt, Colorado. And Carlton, you're up.
Good evening, council. I'm here to present on ordinance number 15, series of 2025, which seeks to permit minor subdivision for lot line adjustment and amendment to a pedestrian and bicycle access easement up in the Basalt Highlands PUD subdivision, more colloquially known as 202 and 204 Ridge Road. This application came before Planning and Zoning Commission this summer. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this application and referred the application to council on August 19th, 2025, recommended approving the ordinance. This application then, after minor modifications, came before town council on first reading on October 14th of 2025, earlier this month, and council unanimously approved on first reading and referred to tonight's date for a second reading and public hearing. Just to cover the background for any public listening and as a reminder to council, the existing pedestrian and bicycle public access easement generally follows the western edge of Lot 2, following the shared drive before continuing north, where the driveway curves to the east. At some time previously, this access easement was impeded via a physical impediment, a boulder retaining wall, and the town has attempted to come to a resolution by means of moving this easement or negotiating the removal of the physical impediment, and has failed over the past few years. Earlier this year, the town staff and legal counsel was able to begin negotiations with the owner of lots 1 and 2, who previously this year was the same owner for both lots. And through that process, as well as the owner's representative, Mr. Giannicetti, who I believe is on the call this evening as well, we've been able to come up with a solution to move the easement fully onto Lot 1 and relocate that out of the physical impediment. The lot line adjustment takes care of some encroachments which exist by way of this boulder retaining wall as well. I guess that's kind of the long and short of it. If anybody has any questions, but we would recommend that Town Council discuss this application and open to public hearing for any questions.
Thanks, Carlton. This is a public hearing as well, so I will open the public hearing for anyone who'd like to make comments on this item. Online, in the room. Raise your hand if you want to, but if not, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and if there's any questions or comments from council, go ahead.
Could you just pull up whatever page this is, page 45?
Probably about 45 in the packet, yeah.
Can you just show on where we're moving? And then the second question would be...
Actually, 50 would probably be the better illustration. And then I can just point that out quick.
That'd be awesome. And then my second comment would just be, I do like that we're adding bicycle access, but I'm pretty sure there's no bike access up there. Which I would encourage as a town that we'd reach out to CBW and allow bike access up there. I'm sure Jeff would appreciate that as a biker.
Sure. Yeah, the bike use is one that's under the existing easement. It's a pedestrian and bike easement. So the intent was really to not change the uses, just the location. But
so we can just bike. I can just bike around lot 2 now.
Head up to the fence and back.
Sweet. Yeah. Killer.
Yep.
Couple laps in there.
Just do intervals up and down that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna power in that neighborhood.
Yep.
So I got the pointer here. So the existing easement follows the driveway, which is a bit awkward, and then cuts from I believe it's a 15-foot wide easement down to an 8-foot wide easement, and then goes there up to the public lands to the north of the Basalt Highlands PUD subdivision. The new proposed easement through this instrument would start much further down, kind of at the southernmost point in Lot 1, then follow the eastern boundary of Lot 1 with the new lot line adjustment all the way up through here.
So it's just circumventing that rock wall.
Correct. And then the lot line adjustment captures the encroachments in this general vicinity where the retaining wall kind of comes across here.
Perfect. I just couldn't tell which way it was laid out with the other lines, so I was confused.
Yep.
But that makes sense.
Earlier in the summer, there was a proposal to follow more generally the western edge of the property, where the bandit trails currently are, and the more natural trail exists on the property. And after negotiations with the adjacent property owners to the west, that orientation has been abandoned in favor of something closer to the existing easement.
Cool. Thank you.
Anyone else? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the town council adopt ordinance number 15, series of 2025 on second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Carlton. So next up, we have item 7D, public hearing and second reading ordinance number 16, series of 2025, an ordinance of the town council, the town of Basalt, Colorado, granting special reviews, site plan amendments, mixed-use parking reduction, and a PUD amendment to legalize 4 dwelling units as deed-restricted units and a shipping container office space at 263 Park Avenue, Basalt, Colorado. James, I think you have this one.
Yeah, thank you. We have the applicants here this evening. We've got Mark Chain and Tim Fortier, the property owner. This item is a public hearing and second reading of an ordinance on an application submitted by Tim Fortier for special review, a PUD amendment, a mixed-use parking reduction, and it's to legalize the 4 dwelling units at 263 Park Avenue as deed restricted Category 1 units. As was discussed at first reading, the property subject to the application is the 263 Park Avenue, which is the Marble and Tile Shop, Aspen Marble and Tile. And it's in the Basalt Industrial Park. As was introduced at first reading, the property included 2 deed-restricted units that were originally approved for the site in 1997, and then the applicant added an additional 4 units without the necessary approvals and permits. And so the applicant is in to legalize those 4 units as Category 1 deed-restricted units. Additionally, the applicant requires a PUD amendment because there was some additional storage and office space added in the form of shipping containers on the north side of the property. And so the applicant has proposed to legalize those as well. Staff presented the discussion items that P&Z had considered at the first reading. And staff is happy to go over any of those if council has questions. Council approved the ordinance on first reading with the direction that all the units be Category 1 units. And so other than changing the ordinance to reflect that all the units should be Category 1 units, there haven't been any substantive changes to the ordinance. The applicant did indicate that they were concerned about the timeline on a couple of the items in the ordinance. And so staff has worked to add some language. You've got a sheet at your table identifying additional language that could be added to the ordinance. It would basically allow the town planner to extend the deadlines that are in the ordinance. If it's determined that the applicant is progressing towards completion of those improvements that the deadlines apply to, but that they require additional time. Staff is supportive of adding this additional language to the draft ordinance because we don't have exact amount of time and assumptions on how long these various improvements might actually take. So staff would suggest taking any comments that the applicants may have, asking any questions that you have of staff and the applicants, and then taking public comments because it is a public hearing. And ultimately, if you're comfortable, you could approve the ordinance on second reading.
James?
Mark and Tim, do you guys have any additional comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, James. We asked for some additions here.
Get the mic over.
Pardon?
The mic.
Slide that mic.
Here we go. Am I on now? Okay. Thank you. We asked for some additions, really for clarification's sake. There are a number of moving parts with these approvals. Some are administrative, like putting together an easement agreement, a license agreement, updating a site plan. Some we don't really, control or have outright control on it. There's a lot of construction elements, and these relate to a building permit. Sometimes the building permit, there's final details to be worked out, and it may not quite be issued when everybody hopes. So we've talked to staff. I think all of us want to get the project done and completed. And, we're willing to work as quickly as possible. We just want, in case there is something that comes up unexpected, as long as we're working with due diligence, that staff has the ability to extend a deadline and we can all finish up quickly.
Thank you. Okay. I know if it's a public hearing, let's go ahead and do that really quick. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing for anyone who would like to make comments, either online or in the room. And seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open up to questions or comments from fellow councilors. I have one clarifying question. If we were to take up these amendments, we'd simply someone would make the motion and say with the 263 park condition amendments, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt ordinance number 16 with the 263 park amendments, series of 2025 on second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have item 7E, which is public hearing and second reading ordinance number 17, series of 2025, an ordinance of the town council, the town of Basalt, Colorado, approving easement agreements for the Confluence Park Safe Routes to School project. Michelle, I think you have this one.
This is a request to approve 2 easements for the Safe Routes to School project. The town is in contract with OTEC Engineering to move the conceptual design drawings that the Girl Scout troop contributed to full construction drawings and construction in 2026. Construction requires acquisition of 2 easements, one on the 7-Eleven property and the other at the corner of the Roaring Fork Fire District property, to fully meet the requirements of our CDOT grant. Both property owners are in support of the project, and that's the request.
Great. Well, this is the public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I'm not seeing anybody come up in the room or online, so I'll close the public hearing. And I'll open this one up for council questions or comments.
The Girl Scouts said so. So, Mayor, I move that the town.
I just have one comment.
Sorry.
I would just encourage us to please, I don't know what happened with this, and I've asked a couple people. We spent a lot of money on that bridge. We won an award for that bridge. Now we're tearing down the stuff on that bridge. I would just encourage us to do it right the first time. I know it's probably no one in this room's fault, but it just seems very counterproductive as someone that sat in town, and I'm pretty sure I was probably a part of that original bridge. And I know because I can remember we won the award for it. So I just want to make sure we're always measuring twice and cutting once. Because it was, the cool thing was a bunch of parents went in and saved a bunch of those plants that were in there, and now they're around the school. So we repurposed a bunch of that vegetation, which is great, but there's a lot of cost that goes into building, tearing down, and rebuilding. So hopefully this time we get it right.
Do you want to comment on that a little bit, like what we're doing for the bridge and what's in this whole process?
I think that's why the bridge has been in the state it has been for so long. We had to spend a little extra time checking the status of the condition of the bridge to make sure that it was still safe and structurally sound. We did learn through our investigation that the landscape planners didn't have any lining and they were eroding the concrete. So we had to really kind of find out what level of degradation it was to the concrete and to the structure. Fortunately, it's all reparable. There's no major damage. However, we could not save those planters was one of the reasons. Or just our hope at the beginning was we were just going to resurface the pavers. But everything, the status of underneath was too questionable. So that's why it got a full redo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments or a motion?
Go, Hannah.
I think that's a good point to bring up, but Mayor, I move that the town council adopt ordinance number 17, series of 2025 on second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Very much. All right, I know, we'll see if we, this next one's, item 7F, EJ Crossing, it's a land use application referral, and looking for council direction. Carlton, you're emceeing this one.
Good evening again.
Sorry.
If I can, before we get started on this one, because staff's looking for action from council on this referral letter, on a ski co application, it kind of invokes some of the provisions of the Code of Ethics. So I can ask anyone that's a ski co employee to not participate in this agenda item. So I think it's
Do I have to go hide in a closet? Or can I?
Hell yeah, you gotta get out here, you can't be in present. Yeah.
I'll face the wall all the time.
You gotta hide, Dieter, hide under the desk. It'd be funny, it'd be funny if I could look over and see you over there.
Thanks, Jeff, for, was wondering about that.
And they're all out in the lobby.
Yeah, I could definitely go grab them because they are gonna give the presentation.
Okay.
I know we were delayed, but picked it up a little bit.
I'm trying, man. We got 4 counselors, maybe you can step on the gas a little bit.
Crushing it.
Sounds like Hannah's grabbing them. We're ready to go. I can introduce agenda item 7F. So the town of Basalt has been given the opportunity to provide referral comments on a development application for EJ Crossing. This application includes both a 1041 permit and variance from improvement standards. This application is a development application through Eagle County for a parcel generally located to the northwest of the Elgibel Road and Highway 82 intersection. The staff has been given the opportunity to respond to this development application as this parcel falls within the town of Basalt's 3-mile planning area and is included in our future land use map in our 2020 master plan. Staff is aware that council was given a brief on this application and the general kind of parameters of this development proposal a couple weeks ago at the October 14th meeting. However, staff is bringing this application back due to its size, scope, and location to receive council direction on the draft referral comments that are present in your packet. For council's knowledge, these referral comments were presented to Planning and Zoning Commission last week at the October 21st meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and were approved as presented. So the comments that you're seeing were approved by Planning and Zoning Commission. And we'll be sending a letter on their behalf with the comments as presented. I would like to note several of the comments that are included, which are not necessarily stock comments, but the proposed density of this project of 5.45 dwelling units per acre is below the residential density as designated for the site in the Basalt Master Plan. This site falls within the 3-mile planning area, as I mentioned, and is designated for medium density residential use on the flume, with recommended densities of 6 to 11.9 dwelling units per acre. The town of Basalt would support increased density to a minimum of 6 dwelling units per acre, which would equate to 122 to 242 units for a parcel of this size. Given that this location is situated adjacent to Highway 82, existing RAFTA transit lines, essential community resources, and commercial services, the town of Basalt would support greater density here. The town of Basalt would also request that the county require 25% of the units in this development to be price capped category units at 100%, 120% AMI or lower, in line with the town of Basalt's housing mitigation code. Currently, the application is proposing 12.5% of the units to be price capped category units in line with Eagle County's housing mitigation standards. And so we're encouraging Eagle County to maintain the clause in the 2008 IGA between Eagle County and the town of Basalt, which would preference the greater of the two rates for housing mitigation. That recommendation would equate to at least 28 price capped units, doubling effectively the number of price capped units. And then additionally, trying to think. Apologies. The town of Basalt would request that the applicant clarify deed restriction categories proposed in this application. The development includes 14 deed restricted units that are price capped, as I just mentioned. However, the remaining 96 units are proposed as workforce housing units, but do not include any sort of deed restriction. So town staff is proposing that at the very least a resident occupied deed restriction or RO deed restriction be considered on these units to truly define the project as a 100% workforce housing development. The town of Basalt would encourage the applicant to consider a mix of for sale units as a part of the unit mix. Town would also recommend that short-term rentals be prohibited as a use, further reinforcing the project's intent as and commitment to workforce housing. The town has also included comments related to limiting irrigated parkland and contributing to the town of Basalt's daycare impact fee, which we require for development within the town boundaries. I would also mention that referral has been given to the town engineer and the police department to offer comments. Those comments have not come in yet, but the town of Basalt has received an extension on our deadline to provide referral comments to the end of this week. And so we're relying on the expertise of the engineering department and the police department to provide those comments in line with their needs and the impacts of this development. We do have the development team here to present the application. And as mentioned, we're not looking for a resolution or an ordinance on this, but rather just council direction, and are requesting that council sign the draft referral letter here, either as presented or with amendments as you guys see fit.
Great. Thanks, Carlton. You guys want to come up and make some comments? We can grab a mic off the podium there.
You guys can sit down.
Evening, everybody. My name is Chris Kiley, SVP Planning and Development for Aspen One. Excited here to talk about our EJ Crossing project. Here tonight with me is Philip Jeffries, our Director of Housing Development, and Jonathan Tapper, our Housing Development Manager, who've been working hard on this project for a while and are now in process with Eagle County. Philip can walk through the highlights. I know, as Carlton said, that you've been briefed on the project, but just by way of introduction, this project will be the largest employer-funded workforce housing development in the valley, and we are extremely excited about the opportunity to work with the Crawfords on this and integrate a lot of what we think is very thoughtful contextual design to help deliver meaningful housing for workforce that is in the valley working for Aspen Skiing Company, Aspen Hospitality, and Aspen One, including here at our Riverside headquarters. With that introduction, Philip, I'll turn it over to you if you want to touch on our project.
Perfect. Given what you all have had today on your agenda, I'm going to fly through this and we'll take any questions you have. I've been working on housing for the skiing company for 8 years. I want to touch on that just because what we're doing here is so different from what I used to do. Used to house short-term employees, seasonal employees. Obviously with COVID, that has changed. I don't need to tell you about the context since you've been working so well on it. So thank you for all you've been doing. We have changed our focus in our housing efforts to focus on year-round, full year-round employees, people that have been with us for a long time. So this is what EJ is about. It's not about seasonals, it's about year-round employees. It is a 20-acre parcel, as he said. We have 111 units on it. That is what is permitted with the zoning, the RSM zoning. And the context is here, right in between Eagle Crest and Blue Lake. The red, you can see the red circle is a half mile, a 10 to 15 minute walk, 3 to 6 minute bike ride. The blue dots are our RAFTA connections. We don't think of housing without transportation. This site is an amazing site for its connectivity, the proximity to services, and parks, and what a great place to live. A great place for our employees that are already part of this community, already part of Basalt, members of your own town council could be in this community. So looking at the design principles, the principles here were to respect the neighborhoods around, provide views through them, build a big berm to help buffer the noise from the highway, really focus on the connectivity between our units, but also through the neighborhood, providing access to others to pass through, and also working on things like conservation, not only going all electric, but conserving water. So those are the guiding principles. That works into a site plan that looks like this. On here, we've got townhomes, apartments, a community center, and a maintenance facility. Those radiate, the densities radiate away from Blue Lake, so that we're facing Blue Lake with the townhomes. As here you can see in the foreground, and the apartments as you get closer to the transit. You'll see here a picture from JW, townhomes in the foreground, apartments in the back. This is that greenway that buffers between the project and Blue Lake, inviting folks to bike and walk to transit and through the property. Here is adjacent to the community center. There's a small park, playground structures, things that provide amenities for not just our employees, but others in the neighborhood. Here's that central quad around the you can see the apartments around that. Great area to gather. And again, the priorities here have been integration, opening ourselves up to the neighborhoods, inviting folks through, focus on landscape and creating great spaces, accessibility, mobility, an emphasis of bikes and ped instead of cars. Sustainability is always on our radar. I mentioned the all-electric, that's part of what we do. That's what we did 5 years ago at the hub. That's what we'll do here. And affordability. And the key here is this is going to be affordable workforce housing for our employees, but as a byproduct of that, there will be the other side of the beds, the partners, the spouses, the families that will be able to live here and call this home. So that's the quick highlight of the project. Look forward to answering any questions and discussing anything you have on your minds.
Great.
And just one last comment, as Carlton talked about, we met with the planning last week, have gone through the letter. We take no exceptions to the letter. We think there's some good discussion points here raised by the town to carry forward in our discussions with Eagle County, but happy to speak to any of them.
All right, any questions or comments? Ryan?
I got a couple of comments. Number one, I can't thank you guys enough, obviously. You guys are trying to solve a problem. It's huge. But I think that problem is greater than just you guys, and it's a valley-wide issue. I have some issues with how we address affordable housing, and it's not just you guys. I think it's as a total community and as a valley. We are creating all this affordable housing to keep wages depressed in some way. I also state that knowing that we can't raise wages enough to meet what our valley has. So totally understand that, but I think there is a huge thing that needs to be talked about, and we don't talk about it enough in the valley, that we have a lot of room to raise our wages. I know that's not happy for other business owners, and I get it, but that's a huge thing. This allows you guys to, you guys pay good wages, but it allows you to address wages in a different way. I also view this as you guys pushing your problem down valley. If you drive through from the stoplight here at Eagle County to the stoplight up here at Willits, or past Willits, just at Two Rivers Road, if you're driving it in the morning or you're driving it between 4 and 6 o'clock, it is a nightmare. It's not your fault. I'm not pushing blame on you guys, but the idea of this development, and I've heard it all before, and we've been in this before, Philip, of transit-oriented development. I get it, but we have to be honest about it. There's still room, and I know you guys, it's required to build the parking lots, but at some point in this valley, we need to have a greater conversation of how to fully eliminate cars. It's gonna come down the pipeline. The mayor's been in an amazing meeting about it. It's coming, and we need to embrace it, and we need to figure it out. It's not your guys' problem. You guys didn't create it. It's an American society problem. We have cars. We want to drive to our own location. We want to be selfish and don't carpool. Not your problem, but also adding to this congestion that we already have. So I do commend you guys, because you guys are taking the problem and finding a solution. You have an amazing office down here. I love that you guys bought this. I think that's great for your employees. That's pulling cars between here and your other office in the Airport Business Center. So I just want to make that stuff public. I just think it's not talked about enough. It's not your guys' responsibility as the positions you sit in. I just think it's never really addressed, and we just always come into a meeting like this and say, great job, thanks for doing it. Like, we really appreciate it. And then the last thing would be on the community center. I've heard I'm hoping it's open to outside. I hope there's like a community room that is alleviating all this other pressure. We hear about community rooms around here, even though there's one across the street in Eagle County, of this like need for public gathering space. And so I appreciate you guys adding that in. I think everything about this is you're touching all the boxes. I just want to express my concerns as a citizen of this valley, not even on the council, is that at some point we have to start saying no. We have to figure out how to get by with what we have. We cannot build our way out of this. We are only going to continue to break down the amazing community we love. And that's what I know you don't have, there's no good answer to that, so.
I'll
Thanks,
second some of the things that Ryan has said. You know, there is transit-oriented development that's been successful. I just was listening to a story on NPR about a really successful community. It's somewhere in Arizona. And, you know, they don't allow cars, and it creates a whole different kind of community. So there are people who are doing it, and I agree with, you know, it's near the bus line, so people are going to use it, and it's just not always, you know, true, or at least to the extent that we want it to be. And then, you know, as you were presenting this, I was kind of asking myself, if this was for teachers, would you feel differently? And the answer was yes. You know, I would feel differently if this was a community for a different workforce in the valley. And I know that skiing and tourism keeps this place going. It's just, you know, I agree with it feels a little far down valley. It's really congested right there. I wonder if you guys are so interested in having housing in there, you know, have you thought about purchasing units in the tree farm, because you're so close to that? So again, I think it comes from a good place, and I'm glad that you want to invest in your staff in this way. I have some pause.
Yeah. So not all too different from Ryan and Angela. I applaud, you know, Skico's a private company. You don't even have public shareholders to answer to, and in the way we are all your public shareholders. So I applaud your willingness to spend a lot. I mean, this is going to be a very expensive project. A lot of company money on trying to solve a problem that does, I think, help our community. I mean, look, half of our Council is gone because they are SKICO employees. So, I mean, your employees are members of our community. I don't necessarily like separate those two things. That is not why I have pause about this. It is all about the congestion. My husband and I, 7 years ago, moved out of Missouri Heights to avoid that intersection because we turned up at Elgerbell Road and moved, into Basalt, which of course has been a blessing in many ways. But, and since then, half of the, not even half, probably a third of those tree farm units have come online. We don't even know what it's going to look like when the rest of those tree farm units are finished and come online. And now we're adding 120, is it 122? 111 more units, 310 more cars on the road without factual evidence, what I believe is to be the most congested part of our whole valley. And, like they've said, we all like to believe in rainbows and butterflies and puppies and kittens and transit, oriented development, but that has not been proven. We can hope for it, but hope is not a plan. And Henry made an excellent point at y'all's presentation at the last meeting, which is like, your employees will use the bus because they can't park on the other end. And I get that. But they're not all working every day. So what are they doing on their off days? Driving around in the Mid-Valley. Like, they're still living here. Their spouses are here. They're not necessarily going up Valley. I mean, like, it is more cars on the road in the most congested area. I don't know if there's any way around it. I simply wish this development were in a different place, whether it was further down Valley or more ideally further up Valley, which is I'm sure how y'all feel if you could afford land up there, if anybody could. As far as the actual points in the referral letter go, unlike what is written in the referral letter for reasons previously stated, I would not support greater density at this site. I would like to see some sort of deed restriction on every unit because it just solidifies and puts in writing a commitment to what you're stating it is, which is workforce housing. And I think that's all I got.
Thanks, Joe.
Go ahead. Go ahead. And I would just add another thing, and I know it's not on your guys' requirement or anything, but it would be slightly easier if you guys said, we don't know if you can get a raft to bus, right, or a raft to stop right where you would want it. I mean, that would be ideal, but that's a big ask and you're probably not going to get it from what I'm seeing, from your head check. But maybe you guys add, I know it's a large cost because we fund them, but a shuttle that's taking people to, maybe it does a loop in Basalt, or it does at least a loop to the grocery store, and it doesn't have to be 24 hours a day, and it doesn't have to be, but just trying to think on the box, outside the box on some of this. Some of this is not even your guys' issue because you guys are going to code, and I appreciate you guys. You're not trying to go crazy. I mean, you're doing what you need, which is, I commend. It's just, at some point we have too many people here, and I know that's NIMBY and I know that's bad, but I moved here for a purpose. I moved here to live in the mountains and not live in a big community. I know it's going to continue to change, and it's always been continuing to change, but at some point we are never going to build our way out of this crisis, and we have to be honest about some people are not going to get to live here. And that's just a fact. And people commute all over the country. And so, at some point, that is a part of the life you have to live to be here. And it's some people never want to hear that, but it needs to be stated more and more, because we are going to pave over paradise, and in another decade, we're all going to look back going, man, remember what it was like, and they're saying that now. But it's exacerbated in the last 5 years, 100%. And you see it. I mean, if anyone hasn't driven it, just drive 82 from 4 o'clock on. Just try to get from here to Crown Mountain Park, which is 10 minutes down the road.
I would never.
Well,
I would never.
I don't choose my sports practices time for my children. That's a whole nother story.
So this way, Kurt's pretty early.
I wish there was a way, and I know this sounds so idealistic and it's barely worth saying, but this is such an expensive project, and I just wish there was a way that it was beneficial for Ski Co to invest in their employees with this money than in owning the housing that their employees live in. Because I get it, it's more beneficial for a corporation, a company, to own the land, to own the building that the employee is living in, than to pay the employee that money as a wage. And again, that's not a problem that you created. It's just it feels a little claustrophobic, like when you think of it that way, for the people who work for Ski Co, living living there, having their employment and their housing tied together in that way, making a wage that doesn't allow them to live elsewhere.
Well, and to speak to your point too, I mean, I'm sure this has been evaluated. And y'all are looking at us like, yeah, no poop, Sherlock. But with the amount of money that this development is going to cost, I mean, has a development neutral approach been evaluated, right? Like you just said, I mean, all those tree farm units, all those, I mean, maybe the net is fewer units, but you still own the real estate. I understand the value of that from the company perspective, and not just pumping it into wages. That's, not an asset that appreciates. I get that. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents.
Or buy out a quarter of the lumberyard. I'm sure you guys are participating in that, but that's like, that's where the density should go. That's where, and they're even going crazy on cars there, and they're not. It's just, we have to have an honest conversation about cars around here. And I know we try, and we have the best public transit system, but once again, it's America. We're not trained to ride public transit. I mean, you see it. I ride RAFTA buses. I just worry we're just continuing to just add more and more and more. At the end, it's never going to truly solve anything.
And I'm not going to lie, I get frustrated with the fact that our neighboring Eagle County land is where everybody, whether it's the tree farm or, likes to dump high-density housing, but it's the town of the Basalt that pays the price. But we don't really.
There's a housing crisis. Wages can't afford to pay for housing, all the things, right? I thought of this, though, in terms of our role as a referral organization. Assuming, it would be great if this were somewhere closer, that would be great if. But in our role as a referring organization, I do have some comments that I would like to consider adding that I'll just kind of go through here. I know Angela mentioned the cul-de-sac presentation. I would like to see a comment in there where a few things that we could figure out how to put this in, but the outcomes, I think higher density, like is in one of the existing comments, is a good thing if you couple that with less parking, and you also couple that with a design that is not automobile centric. And I know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to negotiate with myself here, but I know the code is what it is in Eagle County, but we can put what we want in a referral letter because it makes sense. And I think it's good to be on the record saying what makes sense from a development standpoint for this. So I think less automobile centric, less parking, and make it more of a place where people there's a community space, there's touchdown areas for hybrid workers. So, if somebody has to have heads down during the day, don't do the auto trip, stay there and do it. Don't even go into Basalt, you know what I mean? Just some common sense stuff like that. And also, I would ask that there's a comment in there asking explicitly to work with RAFTA, though, to get a local bus stop by the entrance on JW Drive. I mean, I think when you get to a certain point, as far as kind of critical mass, it makes sense to have people not go the half mile. It's not far, but it's just going to create friction. And I think if we want to get make this the better outcome or the best outcome that it could be, given all the congestion in the Mid-Valley, reducing the friction to using mass transit is critical. So I would like to add a comment in there on that. I would also like a separate but related comment in there that Eagle County asks you all to work with our staff on expanding Basalt Connect in there, and you guys paying for not just that, but helping this connectivity in the Mid-Valley. Basalt Connect is another way to reduce that friction. And, I know we get a lot of comments about expanding it to different parts of the community. And this is exactly the use case of where we would like to see this kind of thing happen. You got, 6 people riding over to the grocery store. That's good. I think that could be something beneficial. I also would like a comment in there allowing additional employers if we're going to have more density. Like thinking of the pie in the sky, but you know what? Like I said, I want to think of the ideal situation, including some more employers in the mix here, be able to house people so we can get a bigger bang for our, not our buck, but the inconvenience of having all this commotion and everything there. Let's try to solve more with it. And I would like for you all, as part of this, to prioritize your Basalt workers, right? You have an office here, so if you're gonna put people on, this is kind of big common sense, but if you're gonna have workers who are in the Mid-Valley working, even if they're not going into the Basalt office every day, let's try to shorten commute times. Let's get people living closer to where they go in, and think about that and put that into the comments as well. The last thing is, as far as the turf and limiting that, I would like for you all to work with the Roaring Fork Conservancy on specific turf types, because I know they have some turf that does not take nearly as much water. They've done a proof of concept at the library over here. So if we're going to have active turf, I think passive should be totally xeric, but if there's anything active, let's figure out how we can reduce that water footprint. Because to Ryan's point, we only have so many resources, and as we continue to grow to what people, what the code and the zoning allows, we got to be efficient with what we've got. And if you're building something new, it's greenfield. Let's put in turf. It does not take nearly as much water. So I'd like that incorporated in there as well. That's basically where I'm coming from. Let's try to make this the best project it's going to be. This decision is in Eagle County's hands, not ours. But assuming they're going to do this, let's make it great, or at least as good as it can be. All right. So thanks. I don't know if is there any questions or anything.
We'll pick the easiest thing to tick off the list first, which is the turf. Do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, so, and Jeff could probably add a little bit of detail too, but there's regulation coming down from the state regarding active uses, which it sounds like you're aware of. So the town made a note to that, but also kind of paired with the density comment, just noting that there are some large tracts of active turf grass area, and with the proximity to parkland in the vicinity, we would just note that there's probably some opportunity to reduce turf grass in general in the area. But we did make a note to the state regulation.
If we are going to plant turf, though, I would like for them to work with the Conservancy on the specific types of turf.
And I think we can add that for sure.
David's getting at something different than non-functional turf,
right?
But more like turf type for when there will be turf areas.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
And I think we can, if you're comfortable with us adding it in the same comment, we could just create a new paragraph that's fine. That denotes.
It's comment 6, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Choosing some more responsible turf species.
Because they had some great ideas. We need to get some of this stuff going and demonstrating that it works and it saves you guys water.
Yeah. No, great suggestion. Yeah.
So I think I'm clear on everything. The only item that I just need to make sure we're all on the same page on is that the town supports reducing the parking requirement to allow for the suggested increase in density that we wrote in the letter.
And to
that meets
pursue
the
a
master plan.
less car-centric design, including
Including-
touchdown space, community space.
Right, the
coupled
bus
with
stop.
With the bus, you know.
In Basalt Connect.
Yeah, you guys probably went to the cul-de-sac thing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know if you can put like a market over there. I would be ideal, so people don't have to go get milk across the highway, but, you know, something that's more, or less car-centric. If we do it the same old way, it's just, you're gonna get the result these guys describe. And I know that's probably, I'm optimistic that won't happen, but if that does, you know, it's gonna be the way it is.
I would say eliminate comment one. I don't think anyone up here approves the recommendation of more density on this lot. I mean, I'm having, as much as I think this is a great thing for you guys to do for your company, I'm still having a hard time supporting this in a letter, because if you listen to my comments, it's like, how can I make all these comments and still support this?
Why do you want less density and more cars? I mean, do you want, like, I don't understand that.
Well, they already have an approved density of 5.5. If you're gonna say, there's gonna be more cars, they already have to do 310 parking spots.
Why don't
Even
they-
at the current density. I encourage them to eliminate parking, but once again, it's this, we can make more rules, but the rules aren't gonna solve the problem.
I'm asking for them to ask if they can reduce parking to add beds. Because I'd rather have beds and mass transit than
But we don't even know
cars.
if they can have mass transit.
Well, we can ask. Why
We
can't
can
you
ask, but you can look at Philip, and I guarantee Philip's already talked to Rafta, and the look on his face said Rafta wasn't too keen on installing that
Right.
stuff.
I'll just say one thing. We're really excited about the connectivity that's here. This is a great distance to BRT and local. I mean, you've got a lot of options here. This is a site that we have right here. This is actually existing year-round Aspen Ski-Co housing, where my cursor is. We've got a recycle station there, one of the top riderships in the whole system. They ride right to the bus stop. I mean, this is TOD. I mean, it's walkable, it's bikeable. I mean, if we could get another bus stop, fabulous. But this is a great site. If you're getting in your car in Rifle, it's pretty unlikely you're gonna ride transit. But if you live here and you work with us, you're gonna have a good incentive to get on. And we're totally on board with exploring all the ways to reduce friction. That is the right way to look at this. It's to make the alternative better. We're on board, and we'll be working, tirelessly on that. But unfortunately, Eagle County does have an unfortunate, parking requirement here. If we could do less parking, sign me up. And that's partly why this parking lot is so inconvenient. This is a big old parking lot that is forced on us through the code.
Sorry, I'd ask that them to not do that. They're like,
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're sending a letter to them, all I'm saying is, hey, can these guys have more beds and less cars? Like, it's just, I mean, it's.
That'd be
We
great.
we wouldn't fight you on that comment.
I mean, I'll go make we'll see what happens, but, I mean, that's the way we need to develop. I mean, period. Because if you're not gonna have the parking spaces, then what are you gonna do instead? That's kind of my point. I'm not saying.
Oh, I get that, but you're still you're still cramming more people, and that's where I'm just, I'm not for it. I mean, I'm for what they're trying to do, I'll be a NIMBY on it, I don't care. We're just constantly pushing everything down Valley. It's not your guys' fault, you didn't create this, you guys are just doing your jobs. And it's just we need to start speaking up. Basalt was able to sit in this bubble forever. No one until COVID was like, oh, Basalt is actually pretty cool. There's a handful of us that loved it. But it's just, we're just, I don't know. I don't have a good answer, so I'm gonna stop. Don't talk in circles.
I think we're gonna try to get us to a point where we can make a motion on a letter. And so you've got the draft letter, and David had some suggested additions to them, which maybe we can just try to summarize those and see if there's support for the letter with those amendments. I think the first one was, there's already a comment about supporting increased density, but I think your comment is that if coupled with less parking. The second was, and again, this is a wish list, right? You're as a referral comment. This isn't, so the second was to explore a bus stop at the location. The third was to explore options with the town for use of the Basalt Connect. I think the fourth was, this is more to SKICO than Eagle County, but to prioritize, or I guess a requirement to prioritize basalt workers, I think. The fifth was about to working for Conservancy regarding turf types on turf areas. And then, did I miss any?
Consider other employers.
Yeah, consider other employers, yep.
I mean, if we're just adding a wish list, I would ask that one of those employers be the Roaring Fork School District. Like, if we could get some teacher housing out of it.
Yeah.
Seems responsible to ask for.
Well, I think it's reasonable. I mean, and I view it more of a, if you, after a certain period of time, have open units, that kind of thing. It's like, why would you let a unit sit empty when it can be offered to other workers? Where are we here? Okay. Mayor, I move that the town council direct staff to submit the referral letter to Eagle County with the changes as noted by Jeff regarding the EJ crossing land use application. Not as drafted, but with the changes noted.
Perfect.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Pam, will you please call the roll? Angela.
Angela, thank you. I'm sorry. You want a roll call?
Please.
Okay. Absolutely. Let's see. Not calling. That one, that one, that one. Okay, let's begin with David Knight.
Yes.
Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Angel Dupré-Bouchard.
Yes.
Ryan Slack.
No.
Motion carries 3-1.
It's a nail biter.
Two things while I have you. Tempe, cul-de-sac Tempe is what I was talking about earlier. I think that was a really interesting community to look into. And the second thing, and I was talking to Hannah about this before, I think it would really be interesting, and since you guys are involved in housing at SKICO, I really like the Tenants for Turns program that you guys have going on. I think that's a great program that you have to help house your workers. I don't think it would be too much to ask for there to be like a Tenants for Teachers for Turns or something. I think that there's a way you guys could incentivize the community to house teachers creatively with a free ski pass. It's just something to think about. I don't think it would be a lot of skin off your back, and I think it could help some teachers get out of, some people's basements.
And help towards goodwill, community goodwill.
Community goodwill.
Towards SKICO with all the
I
added
hear from-
congestion.
Don't we have that in abundance already?
And I hope the upshot is that we get more students living in there for our schools, because I know that's a demographic challenge.
Can you look into that?
Yeah, it'd be good.
If there's a way you could extend that sort of a benefit?
We can talk to Hannah in her day job capacity.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for your time.
All right. Still behind. Next up, we have item 7G, public hearing and first reading of, let's let the rest of them get back in before I start cranking. Those watching, we have had some of the council members recuse themselves because they're SKICO employees. SB1 employees.
Sure.
Yeah, we all went, they had cul-de-sac, did a presentation here.
Oh,
Oh, it was awesome.
we don't even have to share.
Coffee and like,
Excuse me? I'll probably stay back if Giles
I
wants
will
to
say-
come on up.
I went from AU out to a family from Prague last winter. It was a family of three. They had a 4-year-old. They walked to the bus every day. They went up valley with their 4-year-old, no matter the weather. They're European. I put them ride sometimes and they just look at me. That's crazy.
gas is effectively $800 a gallon.
Yeah. Just that 4-year-old just walking through the snow with his hands out.
Wasn't I here before?
So next up, we have item
They have you.
7G. It's a public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 18, series of 2025, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving a site plan review, special review, community housing review for the construction of 5 second-story residential units at 230 Park Avenue in Basalt, Colorado. Sarah, you're at the table and you're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will introduce the applicant team we have here this evening, Brad Elliott and Giles Thornley. We also have the applicant, John Silich, is sitting in back of me. As you said, this is a public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 18, series of 2025, regarding a proposal to add 5 residential units at 230 Park Avenue. Requires site plan, special review, and community housing reviews. You can go to the first slide, please. Just to orient you to the location, 230 Park Avenue is located within Basalt Industrial Park. It is indicated by that star there, so we're right on that curve of Park Avenue, and it's across from 263, which you had a public hearing on earlier tonight. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So these are the existing conditions. It's a single-story, 6,800 square foot building comprised of concrete blocks. There's several bay doors. There's no fencing on the site. The parking is not delineated on the site currently, and it's a wide open lot, so there's no real means of defining egress or ingress to the lot. Next slide, please. The applicant's proposing the addition of 5 upper-story residential units, includes 2 studio units, 2 one-bedrooms, as well as 1 3-bedroom unit. They're looking to maintain the building's existing footprint with the addition of an elevator and stairway as well, organizing the parking on the site, looking to fence the lot and add 2 street cuts in order to improve the entry to and circulation through the site. Creating a landscape shared private open space at that rear southwestern corner of the site, and adding trash and recycling as well as snow storage accommodation on the site. If you could go to the next slide, please. Here's images of the proposed development, a couple of just initial images, more were in your packet. And next slide, please. So staff has identified the several discussion items relevant to evaluating the application as listed there, and I'll just go briefly through each one of these. I know it's been a long evening. The next slide, please. We can start with the consistency with the zoning as well as the master plan. Now, affordable housing within the industrial zone district, as you know, requires special review approval. There's different criteria that are involved. The proposed residential use must be lesser in size to the primary use in the lot, has to be compatible with the character of the site and is with the general area and the need for housing on the site. The upper level residential respects the footprint of the existing building. Housing is intended as workforce housing, can accommodate single tenants, couples, or small families within a roommate situation. The 2 studio units are proposed to be permanently deed restricted as Category 2 rental units to fulfill the inclusionary housing requirements. And this map just indicates that there are several properties within the Basalt Industrial Park that are really close to this site that have approved upper-level multi-family housing. And those are indicated in yellow and red indicating the site, the subject site tonight. Regarding the master plan, it does encourage housing that serves a wide range of demographics and incomes and needs, and also places a high value on live-work arrangements. And again, the applicant is intending to use the residences to house the applicant's employees. Next slide, please. Getting into just a few site plan items, this would include like the parking, trash, circulation, landscaping, and open space. The addition of 5 residential units creates the need for on-site parking spaces. So as residential, the ground floor use is warehousing, and that would require 7 parking spaces. The upper story residential would require 9 parking spaces. The applicant has successfully shown how they can provide 16 parking spaces on site. Additionally, you'll see adjacent to the site, there are 7 parking spaces that are being proposed. This is a condition that's very similar. It's found at the neighboring site directly to the northwest, the Kilty property, just northwest of this. The intent is to provide better organization for the parking on the site, which if you've been over there during the day, the parking is often pretty kind of chaotic. Sometimes you'll get people that are just double parking each other in. So this site condition has been supported by the HOA. It has also been supported by staff after a good deal of discussion. The applicant would be required to enter into a license agreement with the town in order to maintain the parking spaces that are within the town's right-of-way. And now this was initially reviewed by the P&Z at their meeting in September with 10 spaces. And after discussion with the town engineer as well as Public Works, this was reduced to 7 just recently in order to meet the necessary 45-degree angle, because staff actually wanted that angled head-in parking. So you'll see a little bit of a reduction there. Next slide, please. So this gets into the combined open space at the southeastern corner of the site. And that's, that open space you'll see there. Requesting this to meet the private open space requirements for the 2 studio units as well as one of the 1-bedroom units that do not have access to private balconies. This is being proposed with landscaping as well as a pathway that follows the area. Tables and seating will be involved. A non-charcoal grill will be located adjacent to this area and close to the building for use by all the residents, and this is per the fire district, who does not want individual grills, and will have the final say as a condition of approval where this can be located on the site. We have seen successful combined open spaces that were approved by council in areas in Willits Town Center, such as at the Skikos Hub, the Lumen Building, Willits 7, as well as 110 Harris Street. So this is kind of echoing what you see in those areas. Next slide, please. So getting into the housing occupancy priority, all the residential units you see are generously sized. The smallest is a studio that measures 718 net square feet. It's a generous size for a studio apartment. The applicant is proposing to meet the housing mitigation requirements, as I mentioned earlier, by deed-restricting the 2 studio units at a Category 2 rental rate. They're proposing to offer the units first to employees of the applicant that meets the town's Category 2 requirements. The applicant did initially wish to offer the units the next priority to former employees of the applicant that previously resided in affordable housing units, and then to follow the rest of the town's tiered priority system as outlined in the affordable housing guidelines for the town. This was reviewed by BAC, the Affordable Community Housing Board, at one of their regular meetings, who supported the application without this condition. They did not agree that former employees should be residing in the units. And this was also supported by staff, and the ordinance has been drafted to include this condition. So basically, it would just go first to the applicants and employees, and then it would follow the regular tiered waterfall approach in the affordable housing guidelines. Last slide, please. And regarding livability, again, all the housing units are generously sized. They contain the requirements found within the affordable housing guidelines, which include the washer and dryers in units, tubs, kitchen spaces, and venting to exterior. Again, only 2 of the units have the private open space in form of decks, but all of the units have access to the elevator and stairways. One of the studio units is being proposed as a type 2 unit in order to meet those accessibility requirements. Each of the units, actually I have one more slide, we can go to the last one. Just in that circle there, each of the units will have a 50 square foot exterior storage locker. There's also an enclosed bicycle storage area that's provided on site. I don't have a great picture of that, so I might leave that to the team to show you exactly where that is. The applicants have received approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission at the September 16th meeting with the conditions that were found in the ordinance. And again, BOC has also rendered their recommendation. So staff recommends hearing from the applicant team, taking public comment if there is any, asking questions to clarify or anything you'd like to see moving forward, and then approving the ordinance at first reading and setting the second reading for November 11th. Thank you. I can turn it over to the applicant team if you'd like to hear from them first.
Please.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to thank Sarah. I feel like that was a pretty comprehensive and concise description of the situation. So I think our position is we'd rather just answer questions if there are any that you have.
Okay. Well, we're going to do a public hearing first, and then we'll jump into questions and comments. So I will open the public hearing. If anyone would like to come up and speak on this, on ordinance number 18, the floor is open. If there's anyone online who'd like to make comments, please raise your hand, identify yourself, and we can promote you so you can do that. Seeing nobody and hearing nobody who's wishing to make public comments, I'll close the public hearing and open up for questions or comments from my fellow counselors. Let's go first.
Questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Are the current people, I know John runs half of it and then the other part's a cabinet shop. Are they gonna still be there? I mean, living above a cabinet shop probably isn't ideal. I'm not against it. I just start to worry in these areas. They were addressing it with the marble shop before. These people know where they're gonna be living. They're gonna be living in, this is still an industrial zone. So while I love that we're gonna do infill, which is 100% a part of the master plan, I also don't want us to start restricting our own businesses from when they're able to work and such. So, just so the people know, and I'm sure any of John's employees are obviously gonna know where they're gonna be living, but that's just a concern to make sure that these people know that they're in an industrial spot, there is noise, there is businesses working, sometimes later than just 7 o'clock.
The intention right now is that we will close the wood shop and the client's going to take over the whole lower level.
Okay.
So, yeah, wood shop's also bringing some other fire issues. And so, that's the intention currently, is that will remain a commercial use down below, but the wood shop will move on.
Okay.
And just, pardon. One thing I did not mention in the presentation is, of course, we'd have the language that would be included within any lease that would indicate the presence of industrial uses and light industrial uses directly on the site and within the neighborhood.
And then the parking, you had the 7 on-street parking, is that is the parking for the apartments then?
No, it is
Or that is just
not.
additional to meet the requirement? I just know how busy that lot is.
They're meeting the requirement on site for the uses that are involved on the site.
Yeah.
The 7 that are directly adjacent was a request from the applicant. You can speak to it more if you'd like. It was just a way to better organize the parking that's in that area, which gets a little bit, it's a bit chaotic. You've seen it.
I used to work right next to the unit, that's why I'm so familiar with it. I've worked actually on both sides of it, so I've seen it over the years. That's just why I was trying to understand how the parking was, because I know there's some fire trucks and stuff in there. And just wondering where all the parking's gonna be, depending on who's using what in the building, so. But no, I think it's an amazing use in the infill we're looking for, so. I encourage it.
Thanks, Ryan. Anyone else?
I guess my one last question would be on the diagonal parking. Is there a reason we limited it in those 2 areas? Because right now it's all parallel parking along the road. And so if you look maybe because there's a tree there, but there's 4 spots. It looks like you at least add 1 or 2 more. And there's plenty of parking down the street too. I was just wondering
That's drainage, so those are drainage basins for the road. That's the other thing, if you've been there, I worked out of Kilty's building for years.
Yep.
there is no drainage for that road at this time in the winter for snow, and they've just been shoving it around. And so now, of course, we're modernizing, so the civil engineers met with town. We had originally proposed the parking to be perpendicular, similar to Keelty's. The town wanted angled parking. They wanted to restrict people from swinging across. But yeah, that's our main restriction. And if when we fine tune it with the civil engineer, if we have the ability to sneak another space in, we will. But we have to meet all the drainage requirements.
Totally understand. Thank you.
I'm generally supportive of this. I appreciate the infill, and it's a good use of space. Anybody else have comments, questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 18, series of 2025 on first reading and continue and set the public hearing and second reading for November 11th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Y'all. Next up, we'll have 7H, which is resolution number 53, series of 2025, resolution of the Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, approving the Stotts Mill HOA merger agreement to merge the Stotts Mill Single Family Area Association and the Stotts Mill Master Association, and related reallocation and apportionment of financial responsibility for certain infrastructure in the Stotts Mill subdivision, PUD, Basalt, Colorado. James and Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. This is consideration of a resolution, as the mayor indicated, that would approve of an agreement to merge the Stotts Mill Single Family Area Association, which is currently applied to the single family lots in Stotts Mill, and the Stotts Mill Master Association. The agreement would also reallocate the allocated interests in the declarations to more accurately apportion the financial responsibility for certain infrastructure in conjunction with the developer's warranty expiring, which happens here in November. And it also withdraws the multifamily, which is on parcel C of the development, from the common interest community, but still requires the owner of the multifamily, which is still the developer of the project, to pay their fair share of the maintenance on the irrigation improvements. So basically, the single-family HOA and developers who own parcel C came to staff and approached staff with the requested adjustments that you have in the HOA merger agreement. And town staff and the town attorney worked on the merger agreement with the HOA board and believe it's acceptable. Once again, it basically allocates the irrigation responsibilities for the single-family area to the single-family and the HOA, and it allocates the responsibility for the irrigation and improvements around parcel C, which is the multifamily parcel, to the developer who owns parcel C. And then it allocates responsibility for the maintenance of the parks to the town, and that's kind of how it's split out. So staff is happy to answer questions. We do have members of the HOA board. We've got Jim Carr here, as well as, I believe, Greg Shaffron, who's the president, is on the Zoom. Oh, Greg's back there. He showed up. And Jade is here as well.
Jade Barnum is
Yeah.
our whole board vice president.
Celeb
Nice.
sightings.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add, or just answer
I
questions?
think you covered it, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
It seems pretty straightforward. Do y'all have any questions or comments?
Yeah, there's been a lot of communication about the tennis courts, and you mentioned the warranty being released on the contractors.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's gonna be hung over from releasing warranty and end up in the homeowner's expense category over there with the courts, or?
Well, the tennis courts, they've been resurfaced twice under the warranty period already. And they had the tennis court installers out there last week, actually, filling some of the cracks and doing maintenance on a couple of the bubble areas that happened on the courts. Basically, what has been explained to staff by the court installers is that there's going to be annual maintenance that are needed to fill cracks and basically take out some of the bubbling, and that the courts would need to be resurfaced every 3 to 4 years up here in the mountains. So,
Is it on asphalt?
no, it's a concrete.
It's not post-tension, is it?
It is post-tension.
It is post-tension.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a good point, like, because the surface shouldn't bubble. I mean, no other courts in the valley
Yeah.
really do that. The cracks, the ground moves, even really good courts, but that surface issue, like, we gotta get that nailed down. I can't just keep being an issue.
And staff has talked to multiple people that are, experts on tennis courts. And what we've heard is that generally you're going to have to resurface them every 3 to 4 years up here for the most part. But the key is to maintain them in those other years by, filling the cracks and making sure anything that starts to bubble is filled, which
So
is what happened last week.
The bubble, though, twice in a year, like, do we feel like that's gonna keep happening every couple times a year?
Apparently, it does start to happen every year, according to the installers.
Because I know we get the email, you guys, I don't know who else does, but from Shelley, and, she's coaching the high school tennis team, that's supposed to be their home court. So I don't know if that's in the scope, really, of this discussion, but that's gotta get solved, like, it can't be, courts shouldn't bubble up every year. No other hard court in the valley does that.
Is the town taking over that component of the park?
Town takes
So
over
we
that.
will be taking over the tennis court?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a huge.
I'm not.
No,
Yeah.
that should not be happening. I don't
Yeah,
care
that
what
was a
these
deal
people
made
say.
long ago with the land use approval, and so it's kind of, something apart from this agreement, but certainly something for, I think staff to explore.
I know it'd have to be dangerous playing a lot of tennis, like, courts shouldn't do that. Like, we shouldn't have to take on resurfacing a couple times a year because they bubble and then the kids can't play, and the leagues can't play and whoever. So,
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
It's not going to bubble up several times a year. What we've heard is that every 3 or 4 years, you'll have to resurface it.
it's already bubbled twice and do we have reason to believe it's going to stop bubbling?
This last time, it came out a lot better than the first 2 times. But that's what I can offer.
I guess I missed that separation. He paid to do it, right? And I knew they had problems right away. They redid it.
Yep.
And now we're still redoing it, right?
They redid it a second time.
Okay.
Bubbled twice. And so this third time, it hasn't rebubbled, but it had some cracks that had to be filled.
Because the surface is different than the concrete.
No, I get that.
So
but
it's
there's-
like,
There's something going on here.
The
that's
surface
not-
should adhere to the concrete for longer than a year, let alone.
As someone that's seen the tennis court up close a lot, that was in bad condition.
But even
It
the-
never was resurfaced and was still in good condition.
Yeah, the one over at the middle school did not have surface issues whatsoever. It was simply cracks that got huge. And they were fixed, and now it's great because the surface is good. Like, I just have an issue, we take on maintenance of just like an inherently faulty surface, because that's gonna be so expensive to maintain. Like, we shouldn't have to take it in that condition. We should take it in a condition of like a normal tennis court.
The town staff can do some more research with other tennis court experts to see what we can do.
Yeah, I think it's 2 courts. Yeah, it's a full.
Has there been any issues
Just
on the
so it's clear,
basketball?
this agreement has nothing to do with the warranty on the improvements that were dedicated to the town. But it is,
And it's not going to release the warranty. It's, the agreement is, again, it is intended to coincide with some of that warranty period ending, particularly on the public improvements related to the water infrastructure. So again, there, in Stotts Mill, we have parcel C, which is the multifamily, and we have the single-family area. There's a single-family homeowners association that covers the single-family. There's a master association that covers both. They effectively do the same thing. This merger agreement would basically remove the multifamily from the common interest community, merge the single family and the master association together. So there's one association to govern the single family. And then this agreement binds the town, the owner of parcel C, and the single family association together as it relates to the common things that need to be maintained out there, which is primarily the water infrastructure and the stormwater improvements. And there's a cost allocation formula as it relates to the irrigation improvements. And again, this is kind of coming together at time to kind of see it sync with some of the ending of these warranty periods, and also to kind of avoid some potential conflicts between the multifamily and the single family. So that's kind of what's in front of you tonight. But if there's separate direction for council to staff to look further into these tennis court issues, that's something that we can do. But just I want to be clear about what you guys are having in front of you.
Thank you for that. I would like to look into the tennis court issue. Are you guys good with that?
100%. It's gonna
Yeah.
be just
Yeah.
a mini suck, and then we're gonna end up having to allocate another $200,000 to re-pour the tennis court. That's we have baseball fields, we have other tennis courts, we have, like,
We should get it in a certain condition.
100%. I guess, why was this set up in this way? Just because one's multifamily, one's single family, they thought it'd be a better way to set it up? Or because the multifamily was done first, so that had to have its own organization, and now there's a bunch of single family stuff?
Yeah, I think they generally thought both the single family and the multifamily should be part of a master association. But it's kind of become clear that they have different needs, and so it makes sense to kind of separate them, but still require the common elements to be paid for by everybody for the most part in terms of maintenance. Did that answer your question? Or?
Wait, but are we merging them?
We are. We're merging. But originally they were separate. And you're taking the multifamily out of the master association.
So just clarifying that it sounds like this merger of HOAs doesn't impact what we would pay or wouldn't pay. I'm with these folks that we should get it in good condition, but knowing that if we were to approve this motion, it wouldn't change the finances, and we'll get the tennis courts back on the agenda.
It wouldn't release the warranty period on the tennis courts until we agree to that.
Yeah, that's a separate item.
It does not release.
Yeah, it does not release.
I think, yeah,
I hesitate to ask, but I might have more wrong. I was over there looking at an AD when I was approached by a resident. They asked me what the story was behind some new construction that appeared to be too far forward or too far back on the property. And I remember you mentioning something about an HOA issue over there before that the town was working through. And I don't know if that's been resolved or if that's something new or.
I think that's separate from
everything?
what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah, it's it's kind of outside the scope of what our agenda item is
Well,
here.
just trying to understand this whole, when we're combining these HOAs, and it's pretty typical to have a master developer that finally gets out of it because he's sold off the lots to a single family, so I think it's reasonable to assume that that's okay. I just want to make sure that we have a clear runway for, and there's not anything else that we have to follow up on that's got to do with anything we're doing over there, parks, raw water, whatever it is.
Yeah, this agreement, in terms of what covers the
town's involvement in the infrastructure over there, which is the irrigation and stormwater, because the town owns the parks. And so it's a common water system. And so there's the use by parcel C, the use by the single-family lots, and the use by the town for the parks. And so moving forward after this agreement, there's attempted to create a more simplified approach to kind of the cost allocations for maintenance of the water infrastructure. So that's that piece. And then again, the master association and the single family association, the single family is essentially being eliminated. It's being merged into the master association because it doesn't do anything apart from the master association, which will still have your architectural control functions that are things like what you're referring to, and which approve, within the master approve design and so forth. So that will live on, and then the multifamily will live apart from the master association because it's its own fully developed parcel that doesn't really have any, other than the water system, have any connection or is really subject to any of those other
Any obligation or anything.
anything related to the master.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt resolution number 53, series of 2025.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for coming out, sitting through it.
Thank you.
See y'all
It's
later.
looking good over there.
Okay, so next up, we have item 7I. First reading ordinance number 19, series of 2025, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Basalt, Colorado, amending the 2025 budget, providing for a supplemental appropriation related to revenues and expenditures. Just right in Doug's wheelhouse.
Yep, thank you. So this will be quick, potentially. So we covered some of this with the quarterly report. So James, can you? I have Exhibit A is a summation of all of the changes that the, bless you, that the budget experienced this year. So let's just go Exhibit A. All right, so I have all the funds listed here. And then the top row is the original budget. Second line here, the 500 is the first amendment was for the mobile home parks. 100,000 was for the supplemental we did in August for the second payment on the mobile home park. So we're talking about now Amendment 3, which is the subject of this ordinance, first reading. So I have summarized from Exhibit B all of the elements of income. So we're adding more income to all of the various funds than we originally proposed, to the tune of $1,997,000. I'll go to Exhibit B in a minute. You'll see that I mentioned some vacancy savings, so I am combing out $375,000 of vacancy savings. There'll likely be more, but right now, not getting ahead of myself, just taking that. Operating expenses were more than approved in the original budget by those total amounts by each fund, and likewise, we had capital adjustments as well. So at the end of the day, I'll go through Exhibit B here in a second. But at the end of the day, the amendment we're talking about is we're giving back, if you will, a total of $2.6 million in what we originally asked for in the way of an appropriation. And that the adjusted budget for the general fund will be a negative $111,691 versus originally of $390. Restricted fund had a use of funds of $709,000. We're now showing a surplus of $1,081,000. I have an adjustment here for $4,000 in the bond fund. That was just for some fiduciary fees. Construction fund had originally proposed 2.3 of use of funds. That's up slightly to just slightly under 2.7. And then the water fund we're also increasing that budget, actually more revenue than we had originally anticipated. And then the conservation trust fund, this was the work on the cemetery project. That's a guesstimate right now, what we'll think we're gonna spend. The work is going on right now. I don't know how long the weather's gonna hold up. So anyway, so we're right now looking at across the board, having expenditures in excess of revenue, 1.4 compared to 3.4. So basically a net adjustment of 2.6 million. So you go to Exhibit B. This is boiling the ocean here. This is all of the various items of income. I'm not going to go through all of these. We've already covered a lot of these. The sales tax report was, sales tax was lower. I mentioned that in the quarterly report. Building permits were higher. Miscellaneous sales was higher. This was the liquor sales on the concert sales, along with the Basalt Connect advertising. Interest is higher. So all of those are what we had just really reviewed. In the restricted fund, first domain here being revenue. This is the RETAs, park dedication fees, and some other miscellaneous items. We're just moving some money around here. This is a DOLA grant. We just moved from the construction fund up to the planning fund. This is the planning grant for the Basalt, the housing.
Planning capacity.
Planning
for the
capacity.
housing.
Yep, thank you. So anyway, so that's all the elements of revenue. And then just moving down, this is clean up, just page down just a little bit, James, if you would, please. There's 2 pages to this. These are all just the expenses that are truing up to the budget. And again, all these are explanations of why there are differences. Go to page 2 for some of the more standout items. You'll see a lot of unspent capital. We see some vacancy savings. Police department had vacancy savings in the administration area. Because we had more revenue on the RETAs, we share that with TACA. So that there was like $700,000 more in revenue for the RETAs. So half of that goes to TACA. So that's would be an additional expense that we did not have contemplated as an expenditure. And that was the interest I talked about. This is the IRS arbitrage on our municipal bonds at 216.
Hey, sorry,
Yep.
really quick, on the 355 for TACA, what was expected to go to them, and then what was more than
I
expected?
had budgeted 100 total Willits RETA 1, so I only had really budgeted 50 going to them.
Okay,
So-
so they got like 155 more than,
Yeah.
or- yeah,
So they're going to get probably close to 400,000.
okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And that goes to a capital fund.
Mhm.
Right.
So, sorry.
Yeah.
So could they, is that like money that wasn't anticipated they could use for their, if they were to finish out
They
the,
wanted to do some other project
Yeah.
that involved capital?
yeah,
Correct.
okay,
Right, because they had, that money is dispersed to TACA twice a year.
okay,
And we do it in April, we do it in October. And before we disperse it, I check their statements over, I forget the money, it's Ryan Investments is where the money is. So I'll check to see that they're dispersing it like there's, like how the resolution was when we dispersed it to them. So
Yeah.
there was over, I think there was slightly over $1 million in it before any of these monies were dispersed in 2025.
thanks.
So, yep. So good question. And then these are, see, all this is capital here in the capital construction fund. It's really a hard number to predict because we don't know when, like we have a contract out with R.A. Nelson now for the construction of the 2 remaining lots. And I don't really know what they're going to be incurring in the way of expenses. We don't have a good idea. So it's a bit of a guesstimate, and we true it up at the end of the year. So it might be a better way of doing it, but right now, that's what we're doing. So anyway, this is summating all of the various items of expenditures. This carries back to the first page. If you just back up, James, to where we started. Ooh. There you go. Well, you go back just a little slower. Go my speed. There you go. Go back one more. So, I mean, it's a good report. I mean, I've done this now. This is like my 3rd time doing this with the council. We've never really come back and, at least I haven't, come back and said we need more money. It's always kind of giving money back versus the appropriations. So this is kind of where we're at now. We'll do a second reading at the next meeting. November, and that's when we'll be approving the budget. So, there you go, that's what I got. Any questions?
That's super helpful.
One from me. Thanks for walking us through it, and format's good.
Yep.
So,
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 19, series of 2025 on first reading and set public hearing and second reading for November 11th, 2025.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Pam, will you please call the roll?
Yes, absolutely. Let's begin.
Series of 2020, make sure I got series of 2025 resolutions to the Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, approving the expenditure of community enhancement funds from Holy Cross.
Why we do this resolution is that part of the agreement was that we, being the town, go to the council and get a resolution approving the 2026 amount before we spend it. So what we're doing here is the account has some 52,000, I think is what, we've been going with 40, 45, but the number has been, the revenue number from the Holy Cross is north of 50. So I'm just rounding it up to 52,000. And we have the dedicated amount of.
Absolutely. Let's begin with David Knight.
Yes.
Dieter Schindler.
Yes.
David on here twice. Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Rick Stevens.
Yep.
Angel Dupré-Bouchard.
Yes.
Ryan Slack. Who did I
Yes.
miss?
Me.
Hannah Berman.
Yes.
Thank you, Hannah. I had Rick
Thanks,
on
Doug.
here twice for some reason. Thank you.
Next up, we have our last item, which is 7K, CWCB, which stands for Colorado Water Conservation Board, Shoshone ISF in-stream flow hearing, and looking for council direction, I believe, and Jeff, you're up.
Great. Did send council a memo from the town's water attorney earlier today, along with a copy of the current draft of the agreement, and then distributed that to you all, and it is available in the room for the public. But this relates to the Shoshone power plant and the hydropower right there. As you know, Excel owns the Shoshone power plant. It's in Glenwood Canyon, pulls a lot of water out of the Colorado River for hydropower use, but has that basically acts as keeping water in the river through that non-consumptive use. It's a very senior water right, the water right associated with the hydropower use on the Shoshone power plant. That power plant is aging, and the River District has a contract with Excel to purchase the water rights associated, the Shoshone power plant's water rights, on the condition that they can go through a process to change the use of those water rights for in-stream flow purposes, for environmental reasons. The town has committed money towards the purchase of those water rights, like many Western Slope entities. And again, you know, the River District is a governmental entity. Its jurisdiction is the entire western slope of Colorado. It's tasked with protecting the West Slope's water interests, and this is one of them. So as part of that proposed purchase, there are a few things that need to occur, and the first of which is to have the CWCB approve a potential acquisition of the water rights for in-stream flow purposes. The CWCB is the only entity that can hold in-stream flow water rights for environmental purposes, and so they're essentially a party to a contract with the River District on this issue. And there have been hearings last month, or earlier this month, in Durango, about whether or not the CWC should approve this acquisition. Once it gets through that process, if it gets through that process, that would then go to the water court for a change of water right application for the actual change, to actually change the hydropower to in-stream flow use, which will be a whole other thing. But right now, this is in front of the CWCB, and the big issue is who gets to relax the call for these water rights at Shoshone? Is it the CWCB, or is it the CWCB and the River District? And the East Slope entities, Denver, Aurora, Colorado Springs, Northern Water, they are all saying, no, only the CWCB should be able to, or should only require the CWCB to turn off the call for these in-stream flow purposes. And the River District has said, no, it has to be the CWCB and us. And so that's kind of the big issue to resolve, and the district is working on an agreement with the CWCB to address that more specifically. And that agreement is what is in front of you tonight to basically give the town's attorneys some authority on stipulating to, because, and I guess I jumped over this part, the town, like many of the other supporters of the River District, have essentially entered an appearance in support of the River District at the CWCB hearing. So the town is in a position to stipulate to this type of agreement. So the agreement says is in an attempt to try to satisfy some of the East Slope interests, there would be periods when this in-stream flow call would automatically be relaxed, and part of that is based on some existing agreements with Denver Water and Front Range entities. And then there are periods when the in-stream flow would voluntarily be relaxed, and that voluntary would be by CWCB and the River District. So that's kind of again, the key issue. So that's a summary of what is in the memo. And I guess for tonight, what we're looking for is that council make a motion to authorize the town attorneys to enter a stipulation on this in-stream flow agreement in substantially the same form that's been presented tonight. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that is what I have.
That's a good explanation, thanks.
Sure.
Got a complicated topic. So basically, like the way the CWCB and the River District are trying to approach it is they want the voluntary relaxation to still maintain some control over it.
Exactly.
In order to basically, for lack of a better way to put it, not kind of change the historical way we've managed that water where it,
Yeah.
they would get more in more situations based on the Front Range.
And to prevent, the Front Range water entities from maybe influencing the CWCB or the CWCB acting independent of the River District. Again, the River District's putting all this investment to controlling this water right, but to not have any control over it when their purpose, for existence is to protect the West Slope water interest doesn't jive with the River District's mission on this.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
So I'll tee up a motion if somebody wants to say so moved. A motion that, to authorize the town's attorneys to enter a stipulation on the in-stream flow agreement in substantially the same form as presented at this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I think we're done. Yep, we are. Have a great evening.